that people select a college is based on the placement or the package that students are going to get, or based on the history. Uh, Parents or students, they try to the institution where they have more placement, better package. So if you only want a good package, your impact ends with you. That means to say the day that your job is going to finish, it's done. So job is equal to survival, whereas if company, your impact begins with you. And entrepreneurship is all about legacy. So when you think for starting a company, it starts with you, but even it will remain after you as well. So let's understand about what is entrepreneurship. Right? I understand most of the time we are very much confused, or we are not decided at the level when we are in the college that whether to opt for entrepreneurial journey or to opt for a high package salaried job, what to opt for. Overall, if I have to say, it's not about picking up a job, it's about living a lifestyle. Entrepreneurship is not going to be an easy cakewalk, as jobs are also not so easy. But yes, it's a mindset. It's not a career option that you have not done, you are not able to achieve anything. So let's do something on your own. It's not that. It's all about with passion, with intention, with clarity, with visionary approach, you have to get into it. Now, overall, if we have to define entrepreneurship, the characteristics or the attributes of the entrepreneur is about taking initiatives. Always believe in action, action, action. It's about taking initiatives, followed by that implementing your ideas. Rather than just putting it on paper, you really need to make it a workable format. Next important thing is about karma. That means a positive impact. Means the work that you are going to do, how it is benefiting the society. Have to be visionary, see the possibilities where others can only see it as a problem. Risk-taking ability, and then decision-making. These are 5 basic and primary criteria or characteristics, we can say, about entrepreneurship. So looking at the situation, try to see the possibility, get the gap, penetrate into it, provide the solution, and grab the market. When we say life is not as easy as what we think, it's all about a roller coaster. Sometimes you shout with enjoyment. Sometimes you are really frightened that what if something goes. Overall, if we see, entrepreneurship is not only about limited to IT or apps or e-commerce. That's normally the trend which is going on. It's about identifying a problem and creating a solutions regardless of industry. Irrespective of these, we need to think on problem, its solution, viability, feasibility, and then how we can grab market. Now, if we have to look into the characteristics or we have to define entrepreneurship, it's about creating solutions. So as an entrepreneur, you can either be pain solver or gain creator. Pain solver means people, significant number of people, they are facing some problem. You identified that problem, but trying to resolve it. Or you are creating something with your visionary approach that market may need it based on various criteria, various market research that you have done. On that basis, you actually try to create some solution. So creating a solutions, taking calculative risk. We don't want to get into the challenge of unwanted risk or non-calculated risk. Always taking calculated risk. Ability to innovate and create value, building something meaningful that changes life. But it is not only entrepreneurship. So there are multiple facets or multiple characteristics or definition of entrepreneurship, or how we can define an entrepreneur. We have to make sure, and this is the must, that get mad, get going. And its prominent saying that initial days of entrepreneurship is others or most of people might not be living what you are living, right? So you might be struggling, you might be facing a lot of challenges, challenges from peer member, challenges from faculty member, challenges from friends, challenges from various other places. But still you continued. Initial days of your career, initial days of entrepreneurship might be tough, but once you progress it, rest of the life that you are going to live, probably others cannot dream to live those lives. So it's about madness. Few of things that it is must, and I believe that these all 6 characteristics are there with everyone.
You are now unmuted.
Whether you are, yeah. Come again? No, you're not able to see that. Okay, so let me reshare it. I'm not very sure what happened wrong. So let me reshare it. Okay. Is it visible now?
You are now unmuted.
Yeah. Okay.
You are now muted.
I'm so sorry. All right. So what I was talking, let me re-narrate it. So when I was talking about entrepreneurship, it's all about creating a legacy. It's creating a legacy. If you are in the job, it ends the day that your job ends. Whether you retire or whether you leave the job, it ends over there. Whereas a legacy, whereas an entrepreneurship, it continues with you and it remains after you as well. Now, when we talk about, I was on this slide, which is talking about entrepreneurship. So it's about creating solutions, taking calculative risk, ability to innovate and create values, building something meaningful. And one of the most important characteristic is get mad, get going. Don't try to see what people are talking about you. Forget everything. Just concentrate on one thing, that you have to create a mark, become a change factor, and you are going to change lives of people. So that is the intent of overall process. Now, when we talk about few of the characteristics, as I was saying, most of us carry these characteristics. Only thing is, like, sometimes few of the characteristics are quite prominent and sometimes it's not. So when we talk about dreamer and innovator, probably when you try to think every opportunity, you try to identify opportunity in every, that's where you start thinking about what best you can do. It requires you to be passionate and driven. Irrespective of the outcome, you have to be passionate. Continuously get going. Now we can think on this line, even if sometimes we appear in job interviews, but still we don't get selected, doesn't mean that we stop over there. We keep moving, we keep applying, we keep appearing for interviews and try to keep improving on the skill sets. Likewise, for entrepreneurship also, it's not that when you are leisure, when you are having a leisure time, then only you try to do it. When you don't have a time, then you forget it. It's not like that. It's a passionate and driven. Your inner power is only going to drive you. Risk taker, willingness to make calculated decision and calculative risk. Have to be organizer and decision maker. Know with all these skills, right from uh, continuous learner and negotiator. This is something which is quite important. Negotiator means it's not only about cracking the deal with your customer, It's also about negotiating with various stakeholders, where you are trying to pitch your ideas, where you are convincing your parents saying that yes, this is something which is quite important and you are want to succeed it. So probably these are few of the essential characteristics and qualities of entrepreneur. Now, the topic is this particular session is not about what is entrepreneurship, how to do it. My main interest is about giving a spark or bringing in a spark in your idea and your thought process so that you can start thinking about it, right? So if we think about it now, the moment we say about entrepreneurship, the moment we say about many more name that comes into picture that we try to visualize it and that is near us, right? We talk about many stuff. We can think of many startups, and most of these startups, guys start thinking when they were in the colleges, right? So you as an entrepreneur, first thing that if you want to do something, or even if you are not decided, but yes, every one of us want to be a change factor, a focused factor, that people should recognize you, not that you were there on this planet, but with your efforts, with your work, right? So first thing to begin with, identify a problem in and around you. So for that, I put it a message saying that close your eyes for 30 seconds and imagine one daily iteration in your hostel or college, one regular irritation that you have, one regular problem that you are facing. So if that is a common problem for everyone, or if it is the common problem for majority of girls in the college or students in the college, probably yes, document it. Most of the time, we fail to document. So what I recommend to everyone is whenever you get an idea, please try to document it. And it's not about at a superficial level that you document that you want to set up something. It's more detailed. It should be as clear as by looking at the naked eyes, even if you close your eyes, your dreams, the challenge that you want to bring, the problem that you want to solve should be as clear as that. So put it, the first step is identify a problem statement. Now, unless until we don't learn additional, just an engineer, we really need to work on a problem solving ability. It's not about going to the college, appearing for internals, appearing for externals, labs, and then finally you graduated, you get your diploma, you get your graduation, and then you move from one semester to second semester, second to third, fourth, and then eighth. It's not like that. It's about learning skills. It's not about degrees, right? Of course, that is compulsory, that is mandatory, but yes, you should have a unique problem solving ability. When combined with your entrepreneurial thinking, you become more professional and you can be a change maker. Most of the time, please try to understand that you are you are not only a support system for the ecosystem or for the global canvas. You are something who have to bring changes and have to create something out of the not out of the conventional method. You have to go beyond that. We talk about think out of the box. It's not about thinking out of the box, it's doing out of the box. Break the barriers. So it's not about just doing a mere job, small job, or a part of entrepreneur. It's about you can redesign the whole ecosystem. So that's where I'll suggest take a moment and think on what legacy you want to leave as a woman engineer. How will your technical knowledge transform society? For sure, engineering is must to create social impact, and not only it helps you to become better professional, but also it helps you to create ease or happiness on the face of people. And being women, probably you understand much better much better emotions, much better psychological factors, you understand it much better than others on this earth. Right? So when we talk about few of the Indian entrepreneurs, few names, the first name we talk about, or there could be other possibility as well. But when we talk about Miss Sudha Murthy, right, we understand she was the first engineer in telco, right? And when she started her journey, right, she faced multiple challenges, and she herself is a walking story. She is a live walking story. We can look into various interviews what she has spoken about her initial journey, right? But still she continued. She didn't over there. She continued, and she is one among the initial guys who actually invested in Infosys Foundation from her hardcore savings. She invested it, and she always say that she is the one of the luckiest investor because she invested somewhere around 10,000 rupees, and she is ripping out in crores and crores. Then we can look at other names as well. These are not only limited, but yes, few. Miss Kiran Majumdar, Shraddha Sharma, she is one of a lady who has created. If you have heard of Your Story, probably she is the one who founded it, right? Now, if you have not heard of, probably yes, you need to Google, try to see who is she. Ghazal Alag, probably Mama Earth. Most of you must have heard about this cosmetic company. She's the founding member. Richakar, probably Zivam. This girl is from Jharkhand, and she went beyond her parents or the struggle or challenges that she was facing, and she created a non-conventional business which was breaking the thought process, and she became little bold, and she established a big brand which many of us know today, right? So there are many brands which has been established over a period of time. And beauty of Telangana is it is one of the safest place in India, and I should say at major part of the globe as well, that you can think on starting your own and then leading your own life. So overall, the outcome of entrepreneurship or those who are successful, we always admire them. I have taken over here, they are one of, or they are among the successful entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, right? So life is not like that. So there are many harsh truth and harsh challenges that we face on day-to-day basis. Probably next slide may bring some smile on your face as well. Challenges starts like the moment you talk about starting as a woman, as a female, you want to start your own business or you want to start doing something else, people will say, if you join a company, jobs secure hai, right? So if you join a company, I have taken the example of TCS, it can be Wipro, it can be Qualcomm, it can
You are
scale
now
it for a
muted.
mass, you want to scale it for bigger market share, probably many challenges will start coming in. Talent acquisition, people will not believe you, people don't believe at the startup in the initial 1 year or 2 years, so it becomes very difficult for you to get enrolled or get someone of your peer member or fellow member or like mentality, like mindset people to your platter, to your platform, saying that we will start, we will starve, we will starve, we will walk, but let's build this legacy. Probably initially people will not come along. Once they start seeing your success, then probably they will come. And people or students or young guys, they also want to join a companies having a big brand, right? So talent acquisition will be third thing. And patent and protection, you are not much aware about how to save your idea, how to save your idea. So in that case, probably this is something which could be a big challenge. Fourth is financial and policy hurdle. Yes, limited access to seed and early stage funding. Probably sometimes you have to do the bootstrapping. That means to say whatever the savings that you have, you just try to put in, right? So that is only limited. Beg, buy, borrow. You may ask for some seed funding. You may ask for some funding from your family, from your brother, from sister, from relatives. Now, this is one of the biggest challenge that we face in a normal middle class people, saying that if a girl comes forward and say that I want to start a business, so lend me some money, probably that is something that you will face a lot of hurdle. Now, we as a female, we as a woman entrepreneur, everyone among us has to create an ecosystem which actually makes uh, this what you say, the myth, to we have to break out this myth and have to make sure that we are equally capable as boys are, right? So we need to convince, we have to work on cash flow management, and then personal financial risk. Sometimes, as I said, restless nights, and I'm like sleepless nights and restless days. Sometimes you have to starve, sometimes you have to walk, you will not have money.
You are
Build
now
a
muted.
multi-million company. Now, overall, what needed to overcome challenges? So whatever the challenges that we have, but still how we can overcome these challenges. The good part is, don't try to make something which is very, very, very big, right? Or something which you like is the best, right? Try to innovate something, and it's not about perfection, right? It's not about perfection. It's about perseverance, persistence. Continuously, you keep working towards it. We can take many examples of failure. We can take many examples of successful guys as well. Whatever the examples that we talk, mostly those who failed initially and later on become successful, whether we talk about Thomas Alva Edison, we talk about various politicians, we talk about various entrepreneurs, or we talk about KFC guys, or we talk about all these, they failed initially, but later on they succeeded, they become a brand. But there are many unsung stories who started in a very big way, but they've collapsed. But still they continued, right? So what we have to do, the most successful entrepreneurs aren't necessarily the smarter or the most privileged. They are one who refuse to give up and continuously adopt their approach based on feedback and results. You keep understanding your customer. If you are not able to understand your customer, probably things are gone. Now, I believe that you guys must have heard many technical jargons like design thinking, agile methodology, iterative method. All these are the jargons. It looks very good when you are putting up on exam paper, and then you are going to get good grades. But actually implement these things in your real time and real life, then it is going to make some change. Again, we really need to continuously work on fresh ideas, right? And from where we will get the fresh ideas? Unless until we will not open up our eyes, we will not do research, we are not going to talk to the people, you will not be able to understand the real problem faced by them, right? Discuss about the challenges. It's not about serials or daily show up serials, right? We have to talk about, right? We need to talk about how, as a technology guy, how you can transform the whole ecosystem. How you can transform the whole ecosystem. So it's about continuously working on fresh ideas, and from where you will get fresh ideas, probably participating in virtual or real hackathon idea seminars. Look into it. Now with the help of AI, probably things becomes much easier. Every country has their startup or Shark Tank kind of thing. Every country has, or many industries are having it, right? So be part of that particular ecosystem and try to get some fresh ideas. Of course, perseverance. This you will find multiple times in my slide. Perseverance. So most important thing is like get behind the success, starve for the success and feel the success. Look, there is a pattern. We say economy is growing, right? Job market is good. So we find it based on some pattern. Likewise, success is a pattern. Failure is a pattern. So try to follow the pattern, what successful people have actually followed. And for sure, no one in this world want to be failure. Next is about consistency and restart mindset. Now, I'll tell you, say for example, your system gets stuck, you are working on laptop, multiple browsers, multiple things that you have opened, and then all of a sudden your system got stuck. You try to control all Dell and all, you try to, somehow you try to manage it, but it's stuck. So it's not that you stop over there. You press at the restart button and you let it again start it, and then again you start working on it, right? So that's the mindset that we have to. Restart mindset, that means to say, if because of any reason you stop, restart it. There is a no time of restarting. Restart it. We are going towards, right, where we are, right? As a part of curriculum, national new education policy, various things that you'll find in your college that is happening, or at various academic level, or various inter-college competition and all, you'll find many things which are happening. But one thing which is common since decades and decades is about final project in BTech or in technology-oriented courses, right? And believe me, lakhs and lakhs of students are graduating every year, and all those hard bounding, whatever they are submitting it, where it goes. Sorry to say, but it is something which is a scrap market that it goes, probably something that can be stored in the format of records, but mostly it goes in that way. No one goes, however good or bad report that you have created, you got grade, it's done. Actually, it's not done. 4 years of time, 8 semesters, and if you see 365 days, multiply it by 4. So almost 1400 days that you are there in your college. And every day, if you start working towards it, right from your first day or right from the first semester, probably you are going to make big miracle. By the time you are going to graduate out of your college, probably you'll be having some working business model, some working business in your hand, right? So try to think on your final year project or your internship or your mid project. It should not end with Viva, but it should end with a registered startup. You should register, right? So think on all those final year project as if it's a problem solver or gain creator for the people. How to make a change factor. It's not that we beg, buy, borrow the project from here and there and just we presented it, we get some gradings and we are done. It's not that. So how a college can be turned into a startup ecosystem? Of course, I understand that college, every student is working on project. So if there are 60 students in one section, probably you are working on 60 different projects, right? Or there could be groups who could be working on it, right? So if this group start working towards thinking on how you can add value to something which is already existing and what next that you can make, right? So that's where you start working on. So first and foremost thing is like shift of mindset that the project that you are doing is not for grades, but something to bring some change factor to the ecosystem, to bring some change factor to the society, right? So academic project designed not for grades, but or just for faculty approval. It has to go beyond it, right? We must check the project concept as whether this particular concept is having some viability factor or not. Now, with the help of AI, probably you can also put your idea and try to see what AI suggests, whether this idea already exists, or it is good for your assignment or project, or it's good for nothing, or it is really going to make some value. So if not, then try to look into how you can modify it, right? Now, to be successful, start living with the successful people. Get out of the gossip group and then start working on something of your own. So when at the time when you are there in the college, what are a few things that we need to look into, right? I'm not going to make the whole lengthy. We are going to end shortly, right? So when we talk about small steps, right? We have to learn it from ants. They are so small, but they always keep working towards their goal, right? We have to look at various other animals, various other birds, that irrespective of the situation, they keep working for their problem, they keep working to solve their problem, right? During college, we roam around, we interact with n number of guys every day. We interact with every day, we interact with faculty, we interact with new friends, we interact with inter-college other fellow members. We participate in hackathon, we participate in ideathon, we participate in many more things, coding contest and all. We keep working. I'm like, you guys continuously keep working on it, but what is objective, right? So try to see a problem which is really a major problem. So if you are really visionary and you can actually anticipate something, so try to identify some problem, train your mind to see what are the daily challenges that you are facing, inefficiencies in the system, and something which is still unmet and need potential business opportunities. So try to think on. The moment we say about any idea in ideathon or hackathon or something like that, people go and talk about very basic things, right? It's not that. And believe me, most of, or I should say, many entrepreneurs who started, or many students who started working on their college project in really a big way, those got converted into startups, into an enterprise, and they are leading our life as well. And we know many, right? To book bus ticket, probably you have to go with Red Bus, followed by Abibus. Then, if we talk about booking up a cab, probably Ola, Rapido. If we talk about, it's Ola. If we talk about what you say, likewise other initiatives, right? So it is more. We talk about Facebook, which is now Meta, right? So there are many projects which has been started during the college time, and it has grown up, because during college life you have nothing to lose. You are anyway, you are learning. But once you graduate from college, once you go out of your college, then you have a peer challenge, you have family pressure saying that you have to get some job or you have to start earning. But during 4 years of your college time, probably there is a no pressure of earning, right? So that's the best time that you can start identifying the problem, work on whiteboards, canvas, try to do brainstorming, and don't feel that people start talking or saying, or people will start gossiping about you. Damn care about those nonsense. Start moving towards it. So identify the problem, brainstorm the solutions. What are the probable solutions or the best solutions? Being a technology guys, probably you need to really work on the best solutions which are available. Use agile, use design thinking, use alternate methods, and then try to bring some solutions for the society. Validate your idea. Again, few pointers are related to design thinking. So once you have the solution, once you identify the problem, you create this, you try to identify the solution, validate your idea. Now for this, you have to work on buyer persona. Means who could be your target customer. Try to talk about what problem that you have seen and what is the solution that you try to bring. If you can convert your idea into visual approach with the help of mock-up or wireframe or a prototype of limit with the limited features, and then try to feedback from your target audience, probably yes. Don't feel shy that people will say rubbish. The moment say rubbish, you say, what make you say that this is rubbish? Can you, what are the features that you want should be there in this, so that it could be something of your use, some way it could be useful for you, right? So understand that, validate your ideas. Is your solution something they would actually use or pay for? Get early feedback. Don't delay it, right? If you delay it, probably you are going to delay your venture as well. And by the time you realize it, someone else will bring that particular thing in. I've noticed many of the guys who had very beautiful ideas, but they didn't start it at right time. When ideas come in, later on they realize that someone has already started that particular idea. And it happened with very close member in my family. It happened with very close friend circle as well. Delayed it, that not now, maybe later. And later on, they realize that it's already being grabbed by someone else. Start small, minimum viable product. What minimum features that you should have? You need not to start working on a very big scale, large scale, saying that having 50 engineers working for you or 100 engineers working for you, or you have a big brand, you are manufacturing television, you are manufacturing IoT products and all. No, I'm not buying those ideas. I am more inclined towards start small, implement it, get the feedback, get the confidence from your customer, and let customer pay for you to build your the product as well. So early adopters, there is something called early adopters. One thing which is little beyond these slides, I'll say, try to look into lean business canvas. There is a canvas, so you will have UVP, unique value proposition, and sales canvas or lean canvas. There you see who all are early adopters for you. What are the major challenges that how different you are. So mapping problem to the solutions and then finally converting into UVP. Yes, these are the real practice that engineers should do. Most of the time, what we say, the moment management topic comes, right, maybe accounting, maybe economics, or maybe management or something like that, we say that, hey, what this topic is this for engineers? Of course, these are for engineers. Every individual on this earth should understand about financial planning, right? And that's what you start small, try to see, and don't be shy in getting said that yes, you are greedy. Yes, we are greedy. We are born greedy, right? And we are greedy for success. We are greedy for money. We are greedy for good things. Yes, do it. Create a minimum viable product and test of your choice idea. The moment you get idea, the planning part, reinvent, I'm like add it, and then again go back to your uh, buy potential customer, present it, try to involve various stakeholders. Now, if you try to identify some mentor online, probably you start exploring on digital platforms like LinkedIn and all, you put some post and seek for some advice. There will be many guys who will come forward and will be happy to guide you, right? I understand, or there should be a very good support system in the college itself, right? So but still, if that is a challenge, doesn't mean that we are going to stop, right? Learn, iterate. So it's a journey. Take the feedback, implement it, take the feedback, adopt it, make changes, again go back and face the market. Now, what we as a senior member in a college, how faculty can also create a good impact to the students, or how they can be change factor for the students as well, right? So it's not about, so students who are coming to the college, probably they are not having much idea, right? So we as a faculty or mentor or at someone at a responsible position, probably we really need to work hard. And it's not about preparing students for companies for job, but to prepare companies out of students. We have to prepare companies from the students that we have, right? Most of the time, I'm very harsh in terms of sharing it. These are there in various colleges or universities and universities and colleges and academic institutions, but underutilized. Right? Whether we talk about incubation cell, because it's now a part of new education policy, so most of the education it in current time. But if you go a little more in deeper, probably how it is actually creating business, that's what we need to, right? So establish college level startup into incubators that provide workshop. So really, if it is functional in your college, good. If not, try to be a part of some of the incubation centers where you can brainstorm, you can try to see how people like you or how students like you are really doing wonders, right? Then alumni mentorship, probably this is also very important, which we create a platform for alumni to join, but we don't reap out, we don't take mentorship from them in terms of getting the skills that we have, getting the resources that we have to get converted into a real business or It's not, it is not possible at all that out of thousands of students passing every year, probably not one or two could be a successful entrepreneur. Try to identify them, call them, let students interact with them, and then they can also mentor these because they are always having a soft corner for the college from where they have graduated. So probably some program where you connect. And these programs should not be for the sake of putting it on in document or in record that yes, during NBA or during NAC probably we have to put that yes, we are doing these initiatives. It has to be on real time outcome that has to be there. Most of the time, I'm not pinpointing anyone, but it is there that most of the time we do it, but not. If you talk to a student why they joined a college, they will say for good package. You won't find, or you will hardly find one or two guys, one or two girls in your college saying that I joined this college or XYZ college so that I can work on my own ideas and I can start my own startup. You won't find, right? If I'm wrong, probably tomorrow when you go ask hundreds or at least 10, 20, or 50 of the girls, and then what answer you get, you will get to know, right? Now, why they do only want to go with the package wise or job wise? Very simple, safe and steady life because they had been listening it. So something that we have already learned that we want a safe life. The moment we are alive, it's not safe. It's always as a risk, right? So we have to look into it. And entrepreneurial curriculum has to be a part of it. So most of the time, college success is being measured with the placement statistics, right? Most of the time, which is not a good sign of entrepreneurial ecosystem, right? So it should be measured based on number of students who initiated their should be one of the very prominent characteristics, and those who have started might not be earning 1 lakh or 2 initial days of their startup. The way that we are posting our successful employment or successful placement packages, 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, with the glory and with the pride we are posting their pictures on a very big banner. Likewise, they should promote these students as well who started, might have failed, but those who have started, that should be another asset that should be prominently promoted so that the parents who are coming to the college or the students who are coming to the college right from the first day, they can think that, oh, this is also something which is there. Let me think something on this part. So there are many industry academia collaboration that can be worked on in a real time scenario, not on paperwork. I'm again saying most of the time we do it for paper, right? So what industry provides? It's about real world problem needing solutions. Mentorship, market access. Most of the time, students or faculty or everyone or parents, the moment we say that want to work, they say like your pay package. That means to say what you are going to get. No one is going to say that I want to work for free. Only thing is like I want to learn skills and implement my ideas, right? So the moment we say free, probably, hey, who cares? So that's what it is. So mentorship with experienced professionals, market access, and potential early customers with the investors, that's what we need to. And what academia can provide to these industries, academia can provide fresh talents, innovative approach, research capabilities, because sometimes startups don't have research capabilities. So academia can provide any of a research lab or any of a room so that students will also learn and industry will also get benefited. So there has to be a coherence. So academic institutions should not only approach industry for placement, for R&D work as well. So low risk environment, and they can keep working on. So industry to invest a lot of money for learning and training purpose. At the same time, students are going to get much benefited because they are going to work on the real time problems. Internship, internship with entrepreneurial focus, we need to beyond routine tasks that you get as a software tester, you get as a cybersecurity expert, as a website developer or Java or this and that. Probably let's think beyond it, right? Problem specific hackathons, and yes, joint incubators, industry mentorship. Let's enroll various industry experts towards the college and then let them interact with the people, right? Let them interact with the students. So that's something which is really must. Yes, I understand that slowly and slowly things are getting better, but still we have just not scratched the surface of the opportunities what can be done. Now when we talk about Hyderabad, because we are talking in Hyderabad, this is something which is here. There are many entrepreneurial ecosystem in Hyderabad that you can actually explore. It's about T Hub, it's about Triple IT, it's about V Hub, then AIC. Not these, there are many universities and academic institutions. They also have incubation hub, and there are independent incubation hubs which are also, these are quite larger and quite bigger one. There are various smaller incubation centers as well who are really doing wonders, right? So please try to bring in all these ecosystems and then encourage students to be a part of this. I know that few of the students have already been part of VHub and all, right? But what is next after that, right? Probably we really need to think on it. Most of the time we discuss about the success stories. Look at so and so, son of so and so and daughter of so and so. That's a disease, I should say. That's a disease of most of the parents, faculty members, saying that look at so and so, right? He got succeeded and he got job, right? And then we discourage guys who are trying very hard in terms of starting something on their own, right? They say that what we have done after so much of efforts, hardly you are able to make some money. And look at so and so, he started working at 6 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 12 lakhs, 20 lakhs. So the pride factor becomes the success stories based on that. So always don't look at the inspirational success stories, learn reasons of failure as well. If I'm not wrong, probably the prominent saying of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, he was saying that sometimes brains, topper sits at the front desk, whereas brain sits at the back as well, right? So let's see, it's not always that those who are lagging behind means they are fail or they are not able to do it. They try to see how you can convert failure into an opportunity, every adverse situation into a possibility, into a success criteria, and then finally you proceed. What will happen maximum? You will fail, right? And you have some time, right? So don't do projects for paperwork, do them to change the society. There are few ideas that what I thought could be something. Probably you guys have much more and bigger ideas than these. Probably something on a campus automation and sustainability. We face every day, we are facing these challenges. So you as a student probably can start working on it. Women health and wellness technologies, fashion and upcycling platform, fashion a big bang way, right? And then peer-to-peer learning and skill development network, very big opportunity. We talk about this, probably we can think on e-learning platform. We talk about Byju's, we talk about Physics Wala, we talk about many other platforms, right? So there are many platforms, especially Upgrad, an academy, many more things which are there. Probably you can start thinking on it. And if you don't have any idea, anyway, you are spending time on Reels and social media platform, spend some time on AI in terms of actually put your scenario, what is the idea that you have, and then try to see what are the ideas that you can start working during your student time. Few of the success stories that started very small. It's about EduConnect, and these are some of the companies, right, which started very less. I'm not here to give you the history of all these things, but few. And if you see, these all are the final year project. Final year project by the engineers, developed from college hackathon project, right? Final year project aiming a low cost, right, portable health diagnostic device. So these are the final year project guys and guys like you. So overall, job ends with retirement. Entrepreneurship lives a legacy. Don't innovate to mark, just to say that you have innovated something. Make sure that it is for the market. It is something which is actually going to solve the problem of people. Paperwork ends in files, action ends in change. So be the change factor. Failure are not full stop, they are just to restart. So these are few of the takeaways that I should say. Now, at the end, be the change factor, your call to action. I'm like, as a end of this session, I should say, pick one problem that frustrates you or the other around you. Start thinking towards that. Develop one potential solution, even if it's imperfect. Test it with at least 5 potential users. Always do UAT, user access testing. Redefine based on the feedback. Don't wait for the perfect time. Start messy, start now. So your engineering education gives you a problem solving superpower. Entrepreneurial thinking is going to make you the one of the best superpower in the whole economy or the whole earth, right? And see the kind of satisfaction that you are going to get when you are working for a company, when you are in a job, you are going to get your salary. You are very happy when you get SMS that you got a salary. But what will be the level of pleasure that when you distribute salaries to others and then try to see what is the kind of what you say, the relax, the kind of cool and calm that you are going to get. It's not necessary that always educated people have invented many things, right? But yes, lives become easier. We can look at various concepts, various innovations of like Lijjat Papad. There was a papad manufacturing. I'm like the lady who started working at home and she became a brand, right? Likewise, Amul butter. It started with a cooperative society and few of the milkmen they started working on it. Now it's a global brand, right? So guys, be a change factor, not be just to follow the system. Thank you very much, and that's all from my side. And it's your turn for your questions, right? Thank you very much.
You are now unmuted.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. That's where I was talking about. Let me take you to that slide as well again. Right.
You are
So
now muted.
here is something that I wanted to work on. So it's about going back and try to see that even if you have a few guys who have actually contributed in terms of, so we talk about, in this case we talk about users. Identify your potential buyer and try to see what are the feedbacks that they are providing. Make sure that it's not about a startup is not about just registering a company. It's about getting your product accepted by the people, right? You may get listed, you may get your company registered under a startup scheme of India, but beyond that, whether your product is accepted by the people or not, that's more important, right? So to do that, you have to be among people and start forcing your product that people are using it. Most of the time we are hesitant in approaching people and saying that use this product, right? So I must say that the moment you have some idea, try to build some minimum viable product with something to be launched in the market and start working on real-time feedback from real users of the product. It's not conceptual users, right? I created some portal, I created some app, I'll ask from you, you will ask from me. It's not like that. Whether it is really a problem solver or not. So we really need to see that. And the moment your user testing, that means to say persona testing, will go beyond to 50 and 100, that is something we have for in the sample market to explore those 100 feedbacks and relook into your product and whether it is really worthwhile or it is not. So if it is, improvise it. If it is not, I'm like, go back and see, whiteboard and try to see what makes it so pathetic for the users that they have not accepted it. And you have to be very, very strong in your mindset and you have to accept rejections. If you are geared up to accept rejections, probably, yes, you are having a right mindset for a startup. Everything is not going to be goody goody. As I said initially, your rejections will start from your family members, from your peer members, and then from anyone who is beside you. Once they start seeing potential in you, probably they will start liking it. So one thing is like, be dedicated, get going, get mad about the ideas. Your ideas might not be good. Don't worry. Everyone's idea is not going to be good at the start, right? So I'm like, mostly it happens that first startup, probably you might not be able to succeed, but you modify it, again do it, modify it, and then see how users are responding. So that is the continuous process, right? So it's not that once you do have done the startup, probably what next? Startup is a 5 years of a journey. It's not 2 months of journey or 3 months of journey or 6 months of journey. If you are able to sustain your business for next 5 years, probably yes, you will be continuing. Most of the startups, they fail in the first 6 months, or next whoever left out will be probably will be failing in 2 years time, 3 years of time, or they will close prior to 5 years time. The moment you pass your 5 years of time in the business, probably you are going to succeed. That's what we have to work on.
You are now unmuted.
Yes, they can approach me. That's not a problem. So I'll try to write it if possible. I'm okay. I have not given it over here. Anyway, so I'm. Shall I write it in the public chat if that is required? Yeah. Oh, so you can. I'm like I'll if that is the case, probably. mm, what I'm like, you can reach me. You can reach me at my website as well. It's www.shakirali.in, www.shakirali.in. You can reach me over there, or probably they can reach you and then you can also approach directly to me, right? I'll share my contact details, right? In India, my contact detail is 9849 256
You are now muted.
286, right? So here you can see I have written my website URL as well, www.shakirali.in. You can reach me out, or you can Google my name, Shakir Ali and Hyderabad, you'll find it.
You are now unmuted.
All right.
You are now muted.
As during my presentation, I said like, what is the common irritation or what is the common problem that you are facing in your day-to-day life? Try to think on it, try to identify it, and what solution that you can bring in. Start thinking on it, start documenting it. For sure, you will find lot many opportunities, right? Start documenting it. Don't be digital always. Yes, digital brings lot of things, but don't be digital only, right? Try to start writing in your diary. Maintain a diary in terms of the ideas, executions. So what idea have impressed you? Try to identify 5 best ideas. Why it has impressed you? How you can actually be a change factor, or what new you can contribute. What new you can contribute, which is not existing, or which could be a value addition for the existing one. So I think these few, most of the youngsters, if you ask them, do they have diary? Probably they don't. They have everything, right? And mobile has social media as well. So they don't go to their note making diary platform on the mobile. They go on a social media. So I wish if you can start writing on your diary.
You are now
That's all from my
unmuted.
side. Yeah. Right. Okay. Let me share that
You are
again.
now muted.
I'll go there. Yeah. Here
You
is
are
the
now
slide.
unmuted.
But there are many small
You are now
incubation
muted.
centers also in Hyderabad. Many more. I think if I'm not wrong, uh, could be not less than 50, which is operating in a very small scale but effective way, right? So many of our educational societies, they are working on it. So try to Google, try to identify a few more smaller startups. Probably these could be sometimes a little far from your place. So don't worry, try to identify something which could be quite near at the initial level and then start exploring it, right? So as I said, minimum at least 50 incubation centers are there in Hyderabad. try to explore it, try to Google it and find those things. Sometimes community-based incubation centers are there. Sometimes college-based incubation centers are there. Sometimes society-based incubation centers are there, right? So please try to identify those. You'll be able to get many more.
You are now unmuted.
Okay.
You are now muted.
So incubators basically bring the market opportunity and they validate the idea that you come with. So they actually validate the idea. So let me see where it went. Okay, hold on. There was a slide for, yes. What incubators actually do, they actually help you in terms of validating your ideas, whether it is viable, it is adaptable, it is feasible, and it is really scalable or not. So incubators are basically a kind of guys or the environment who validate your idea or force you to think something first and then start working towards creating it in terms of minimum viable product. I mean to say, who will be your target, what problem that you try to identify, whether these problems really have some sense or not, what are the solutions that you want to provide, and then validate these solutions whether it is really going to make a change factor or not, right? And align it UVP, that is unique value proposition, how unique you are in terms of providing solutions. And then convert those things into helping you out in terms of creating MVP, minimum viable product. That means to say, they will help you in terms of building something. Minimum, you should have the features to go in the market and do a trial run. So these are few things that initially at the idea level, they help you. They try to validate your idea and then make sure that it is going to be a working model. Next is about go-to-market strategy. They also then what will be the alternatives from where you can generate revenue. Most of the time, as a myth or as a misconception or illusion that we have is, we talk about entrepreneurship, we talk about a startup, we say that we'll get funding. It's a byproduct of your successful concept, right? So funding is a byproduct of your successful concept. Now, what if you don't get funding? Does that mean that you will stop your business? No. There are many guys who are running it and they started on the bootstrap, and once it reached to a certain level, then they ask for this funding for expansion level, right? So I feel identifying an incubator where they understand your ideas or they force you to start thinking about the ideas, convert that into feasible and viable product, take you to the market and start generating revenue, see the distribution channel, who will be your potential customer. So all these mentoring. So idea level, pre-idea, during prototype development, and post-market launch. So there are various phases of incubation, phases where incubation centers give you support. And that's where expert mentors comes into picture. Maybe for development of ideas could be different mentor. For go-to-market, it could be market expert. For something else, probably someone else could be. So a team which will be there. So incubators always have who helps brainstorm or who guide students or youngsters to go beyond it. Yeah.
You are now unmuted.
Yeah, please. I don't mind. Mhm. Mhm. Don't get into all these
You are
difference,
now
whether it's
muted.
entrepreneur, startup, or business, what it is. Don't get into all those things. Now, first question that I'll ask, I will answer is, how many people do we need to start a business? We need only your mindset. We need only your mindset. If you are very sure about now how it happens, now let me tell you. If you are trying to go out, you want to bunk the college. Let's take the example. You want to bunk the college and you have a plan to go to somewhere shopping mall or go for a movie or go for outing and eating out and all, right? So it comes to your mind. Then you start discussing with your fellow members, and then you bring Then you bring few of like-minded guys, like-minded girls along with you, and then that becomes nano bunk to mass bunk. So you influence everyone saying that yes, we have to. So that is the very basic example that you have I have given you. Idea that starts with you and went beyond by convincing and talking to the people. So any business that you see, we talk about Infosys, that's a company right now, but who initiated it? Infosys, like Mr. Krishnamurthy, right? So he started it, and then he spoke to his fellow members who were doing BTech or MTech along within. He spoke to them and he brought them together. Likewise, if we talk about Redbus, he and his room partner started working on it. We talk about Ola, probably it's the same thing. We talk about Facebook, the founding member of it, or the Google founding member, they started working as a fellow members as a project of there, right? So when you are having a project, guys, a small team that you are constituting, probably try to constitute not for project delivery, but for a project with a value. So the moment you start validating those things and you have few years at the initial level, try to identify common-minded people, like-minded people. It is very tough because the moment you say about business, startup and all, they start converting their time into money. And if they are not going to get it, probably they will leave you. They will be the first person to leave you. So make sure that you ask people to join you not for money, but for long-term vision. So if you are able to identify even one or two, probably you will be able to get success. It is sometimes very difficult. Like from my own personal experience, if I have to say, probably it was really, really, really tough for me to getting even two guys of the same mindset, because most of them were not very sure about what is digital marketing, whether it can really bring some business or not. But later on, when they saw that yes, were able to scale it to very large level, and then also got investors acquired by US based companies and all, probably then they started realizing, oh, it can be, right? Because we were like among if I have to say, probably first, I'm like two or three initial companies in Hyderabad who started working for digital marketing way back in 2005, 2006. Hardly any company was there, not in Hyderabad, but in Andhra Pradesh, I should say. Or many of the companies were not, even Infosys, Wipro were not having digital marketing department at that very moment, right? So it's all about the visionary approach, where people will go, how market is moving. So required learning. And how learning will come? Learning will come when you are there in the college. Don't go through the content of question and answer for the sake of exams. Try to read the textbook, bulletins, research papers, market survey reviews and all, and then try to see how students have started working on it. Now, second part of your question, business, entrepreneurs and all. Business is something that was already there. You are carrying it. Family business, it was already there. You are just carrying it on. Now, entrepreneurship, probably risk-taking ability, something which is different, which is not traditional, right? A kind of abrupt, you are trying to create some abruption in the market as well, creating some kind of disturbance in the market, saying that, yes, you are something, right? And that's where, when we talk about the definition of a startup, something that you're starting as an innovative idea, which is not existing. So overall, we see three circles: business, startup, and entrepreneurs. You'll find there is a common area, and we call it entrepreneurship sweet point. And that sweet point is going to be common among most of the businesses, whether you are running a traditional business, whether you are running you are an enterprise, you have set up an entrepreneur, or you are an entrepreneur, or you are working on a startup. So a startup will become an enterprise once you proceed beyond 5 years of the time, right? So, but I will say, don't get in these vicious cycle of startup, entrepreneurship, or business. Start it, and then you can position wherever you are. Create a graph, draw a graph, and put yourself whether now you have already started something. Now you want to make it as a startup. So what you will do, you will try to bring innovation in your business. You will try to bring technology in your business so that it becomes something which is different from others who are offering it. The way that electric vehicle happens, the way that Ola brought in, the way that Rapido brought in, the food delivery apps and all. And again, I should say, startup is not about start app or food delivery app or Rapido or something like that. It's beyond that. These are few of the startups. Startups in the range of robotics, in the range of IoT, in the range of smart cities, in the range of in the range of learning mechanism, right? So everything comes together, right? Sometimes you will not be able to make profitable business, but yes, you'll be able to make some impact, right? So there was a saying by Action Shoes. Action Shoes, they were the manufacturer of shoes. They had a prominent line. I'm going to say it in Hindi. तुम समय की रेत पर छोड़ते चलो निशान, देखे ये जमी देखे आसमां. You really need to work hard to make sure that you are creating a punch, you are creating some impact on the floor, on the ground, and so that people can see it, that you have created something really amazing. That's something that's all from my side.
You are now unmuted.
Over to you. I'll stop sharing. Yeah,
So thank you once again, sir, and sorry for the inconvenience during the earlier part of the session. Once again,
that's okay. Yeah.
thank you very much, sir. We hope we
I
can.
can leave the session now. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
You are now muted. You are now unmuted.
So we'll now move on to our second session of the day, which takes us to the global landscape of STEM education. Um, so our distinguished speaker, Dr. Rita Kakati-Shah, is an award-winning gender diversity and inclusion strategist, international speaker, author, and advisor to Fortune 500 companies. Today, she'll be taking the session on a global perspective on best practices in STEM education. So, to know more about our speaker, she is the founder and CEO of UMA, a global consultancy empowering confidence, leadership, and resilience in women and minorities. She also leads the UMA Global, a philanthropic initiative developing leadership skills in underprivileged youth in Assam, India. A distinguished alumna of King's College London, Dr. Kakati-Shah serves on multiple advisory boards and has received global accolades, including the President's Lifetime Achievement Award from US President Joe Biden and the Mahatma Gandhi Samman Award at the UK Parliament. Her career spans finance at Goldman Sachs, leadership in the pharmaceutical industry, and thought leadership in academia, where she lectures at top institutions worldwide. She is also the best selling author of The Goddess of Go Getting, a media contributor, mentor, and classical dancer, inspiring countless people through her work across education, business, and community development. We are privileged to have her with us, sharing her global perspective on best practices in STEM education. Ma'am, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a privilege and an honor
now muted.
to be with you all today. I would like to share my slides if possible. So let me try to do that. I believe I just have to upload the presentation. Is that correct?
You are now unmuted.
Okay, great.
You are now muted.
Okay, I think I've uploaded it. Can you see it from your side?
You are now unmuted.
Okay, great. Do you see it? Okay, great. And will it automatically, oh, there it is. Perfect. Fantastic, great. Thank you so much.
You are
just
now
trying to
muted.
scroll up and down. Am I able to control the slides myself, or
You are
will that be
now
you? Because
unmuted.
I don't seem to be able to use the... Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, yep, I see it.
You are now muted.
Fantastic, thank you so much. Great. Oh, I see the formatting's a little off, but that's okay. So thank you all again for coming to today's presentation. We're really going to be going over the concepts of STEM education, but in a global context, looking at 21st century skills. What is it like from an international perspective? My own background, as you did mention in the introduction, is I'm of Assamese heritage, but I was born and brought up in the UK, in London, and I now live in the US. But I have worked and I've lived in many cities in many countries around the world. So I've had a very, I would say, insightful grasp and exposure to global education, teaching practices, curriculum, in particular in STEM education around the world. So this is a topic that is very close to me, very close to my heart, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. I also do a lot of work with the United Nations, in particular the Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 4, quality education, and goal number 5, gender equality. So under the umbrella of goal number 4, quality education, looking at different global concepts is something that is very much of a relevant topic to the discussion for today. So let us get started. The first topic we'll be talking about is really what it means to have inquiry-based and hands-on learning. So if we look at the first topic, when you think about classes, whether you yourself are students, whether faculty also listening to this presentation as well, really what do we mean by inquiry-based learning? It's not just once upon a time rote memorization. It's not just reading what's written on a piece of paper or taking frivolous notes from what your lecturer is saying and then memorizing that in order to best regurgitate that when it comes to a test or examination. It's really about how do you underpin understanding for a particular topic, and that really understanding really is driven by the curiosity of the mind. So how can you foster curiosity in students? What can you encourage students? So it's a two-way stream. So it's not just the lecturer or the faculty member in the classroom that is imparting knowledge, but it's really a two-way stream of knowledge passing from the faculty member to the student and going back from the student back to the faculty member as well. So I think that's really important to know that it is a two-way process. It's not just one side fits all. It's not just coming from one side. There is a very holistic approach in how we look at education today, particularly around the world. So the first point is fostering that education by encouraging students to really ask questions and explore solutions. So what do we mean by that in itself? So if we break that down further, once upon a time, it's very much about just learning what a concept meant. If there's a mathematical formula, a concept and logic, whatever it was, you just have to learn it and memorize it and repeat it. And that was one way of learning. But now what was found to be, what the research has shown to be more concrete, especially for students, and what actually underpins long-term memory span is the ability to just ask questions and really engage in that conversational dialect. So it's a concept, more of a tutorial style learning. So you use practical hands-on experiments as examples, using projects, case studies, role-playing examples to develop what does critical thinking mean. So when you ask a question, you don't always ask a question expecting a response. You ask a question to really explore critical thinking, explore how do you even address the topic ahead of you. There are often concepts, coming from an engineering conclave yourselves, there are sometimes concepts that don't have a black or white answer. And actually that is part of the charm of education. Once upon a time, when you looked at STEM education, it was deemed upon having something that you had a particular way of looking at formulae, you had a particular way of learning answers correct or wrong. But now we're taking that one step further. We're thinking, what if there isn't a concrete answer? What if the answer is actually to keep exploring your knowledge in a particular topic and discuss that. That in itself opens your world to so much more. So looking at things like real world problem solving, linking concepts in STEM to everyday life are ways of doing this. So rather than thinking of just a pure example of a mathematical concept or a scientific concept, thinking about what is actually used in the real world. What are some problems out there in the infrastructure, in the society we live in, that we can actually use these concepts to solve? So quite often in undergraduate education, you don't often have that many case studies and role-playing examples, whereas in postgraduate education, it is slightly more common. This concept gives you that understanding that you can actually invite that case study concept, almost like a capstone or role-playing concept in the undergraduate level, even from first-year students onwards. So you're really shifting your mindset, your way of teaching, and how you, as a student, how you absorb the knowledge from really just passively learning by just sitting in the classroom and only taking notes to actively learning through discovery and problem solving. So that really hits it with a very, very different concept there. So in terms of this hands-on, on this project-based learning that we are talking about, it's really about now how do you structure your day? How do you structure that level of education and learning? So one way is to prioritize your experiments, what you're doing in the classroom, what you're doing even outside the classroom, in spare time, in off time as tutorial groups, when you go and do study groups together, in homework classes. So how can you prioritize these practical experiments and engineering challenges to build critical thinking? Knowing that there isn't always a right or wrong answer, you're constantly problem solving. What can we do? We want things to go wrong because we want something, a challenge to try to solve. So rather than the old methodology, or we just want to solve things to get a tick mark that we've done this correctly, it's now of a newer methodology to challenge your miles intentionally. You always don't want to find a solution straight away. You want to problem solve, break things into smaller steps, to solve them in smaller steps. How do we do this? Okay, this didn't work. Let's try something else. And this is all part of a learning that can really help and enhance career development in the future too. So some of the ways of doing this is using prototypes. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the concept of discovering those and using models right now, but also thinking of a design thinking element to solve issues, especially in your local community. So don't just think of your classroom. Don't just think even nationally what's going on. Think of local community. Think of where you live. Think of what you can help in your locality. What is something that is annoying where you live? What is something that you wish you could fix that just hasn't been fixed? Use these examples in your locality to think, okay, what can I do to try and change something? I don't have to fix it, but I can change it in some direction going forward. So some of the ways of doing that isn't just thinking individually, I have to solve it by myself, but incorporate this into group-based projects. So small group-based project, they could just be 2 or 3 in a group, they could be 5 to 10 in a group too, but you're actually based in almost like small tutorial groups to really foster collaboration and creativity in your decision-making process, in your problem solving as well. And forming together in the group is not just invaluable as a student, it's also incredibly helpful when you are a faculty member imparting the knowledge, because often you can come up with better solutions in the group scenario. But also you have to think of the future. When you later on, after you've graduated from the Stanley Engineering College, when you go out into the real world, you don't often work just solo. Yes, sometimes you do, but quite often you work in groups. So this type of group working actually prepares you for career development in the future. So it's not just something that is a practical tool to help learning, it actually prepares you for the future as well. So that's really a snapshot of why hands-on learning is important to focus on. It is something that is getting more and more advancement and prominence in the learning sector, in the education sector today. But that's some of a snapshot of why it makes a difference to have that. So now let's look at the next part of that to really continue. So how do we do this hands-on learning? Well, let's look at how you can integrate technology and your computational thinking so it becomes a seamless integration in your learning process. So integrating technology effectively, what do we mean by that? So you have educational technologies already. You may have virtual labs. So for example, depending on the facilities that you have, you may have some really good sort of laboratories where you can actually have resources there. But you may not always have that, depending on what kind of experiments, what sort of area of engineering you're going into. So that's important to look at also simulations and virtual labs, coding platforms where it's not always possible to have something physical that you can manipulate in your hand. So that is something as well as a learning tool that quite often can get forgotten. People quite often judge a facility by what's physically available rather than, well, actually, we can go online. We can subscribe to a particular application that lets us explore engineering concepts, explore technological concepts just by looking at different coding applications out there. So these are really, really important to experiment with, especially as you are trying to problem solve and think of real world solutions out there. So when you leverage these education technologies, it's always recommended that it's, don't necessarily spend every single class doing the same thing, but you can always have elements of it. If you have a physical lab with actual physical things that you can touch and feel, combine it with some sort of an educational resource, a virtual resource that you can actually combine that education, that way of learning together. And why do we do this as well? Because, again, in this day and age, everything is getting global. Everything is becoming more and more international. People share ideas. People share learning concepts. So one of the best ways to actually think about this is from a global perspective. After all, today's class is about that global STEM approach, global STEM education. So thinking about different ways and talking on different levels with different people from around the world, quite often people may not understand terminology that you use for certain physical concepts, but looking at global applications using these technologies can actually enable other folks to log in. You may have a partnership with a class from a different institute, for example. So that is a great idea as well to explore. So another method you could do is also develop your computational thinking through these coding concepts, through algorithms, through logical problem solving. So these are all things that you can definitely consider, definitely involve in your day-to-day. As students, I always think it's a really fun way to do things by looking really into sort of logical problem solving, especially when you start a new problem for the first time, because it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle. Where do you start? How do you start? What resources do you have? So that in itself and working in groups can be a really fun way to explore and increase your learning, especially in the educational world. So leveraging apps, tools, just a couple of examples mentioned on the screen here, but there are so many that you could look into. Some local ones you may already be using, but the ones I like to think of are things like, GeoGebra, PHET simulations, there's Khan Academy. These all enhance understanding in different ways, but it also gives you a very different way of approaching a problem. It gives you a different way of looking at concepts as well. So that's always a very good approach of how do you do things as well. So when you do actually go on to developing this computational thinking, think of integrating the coding and algorithms into your science curricula as you have it, into your mathematics and science curricula. Now, as a student, you don't have that control necessarily of what is in the curricula, but what you can also do, if as a student, is question your faculty members. Have we thought about it from a different perspective? Or I'm taking a module in something else. Introduce the concept and discuss that openly, because it's all about how do you join those concepts together. You may be looking at an algorithm in a science module that you're studying, and you are combining it with something that you're doing in a physics module or a mathematics module, and you see some similarity. So definitely bring that up. How can you combine things? How can you think of things in a holistic way? So as a faculty member, if you are listening to this, then think about how can you then encourage your students with that logical reasoning and pattern recognition, any patterns that you can think of. What is that logical process? How can you decompose that problem into a way that your students can use these techniques in their futures? Because remember, learning in education is absolutely about what you are studying at the moment, but it's also for the future. How can you use certain skills? How can you use the structure you are learning now to better your future career development as well? So learning logical reasoning now, working these curricular algorithms into your curricula can really, really help in the future as well. Scratch, Python, simple robotics, these are all additional tools you can use to develop your programming skills as well from an early age. So what you're doing now, great. Think as well, how can you span outside the classroom, outside the study environment as well? Because these are all extremely good ways to really get that holistic approach as well. What it also lets you do is think of terminology that is used around the world. So it's not just local terminology, it's terminology that is used in different parts of the world as well. So always very, very helpful to explore. So now that we've looked at that element as well of how can we involve that technical aspect into the hands-on learning, how can we use local relevance and interdisciplinary approaches? Now, we've just touched upon a little bit of the interdisciplinary approaches by thinking, what happens if you have a subject that you're also studying and you see some sort of crossover, whether you're a student or the faculty member. So when you see different concepts that you're studying in one module versus another, for example, think about, as a student, how can you yourself use different aspects of both? If you have a project, if you have a thesis, if you have a homework project, don't just keep it to only what you're doing. Yes, absolutely, that is the subject you are learning, but think about outside applications too. Think about what other modules you're doing as well. From a faculty perspective, you can absolutely promote your students with cross-disciplinary projects as well, to think, okay, how can I meet with a faculty member from another module, and what can we do that maybe at the end of the semester or in between the semester, we can actually introduce some sort of a cross-disciplinary task or a project that can really connect all these different concepts across engineering, mathematics, technology, and science all together. So that it's not just STEM individually, it all becomes one holistic concept. Because in the real world, when you are finding a concept out there, you're not going to break it into individual components. You have to think of it as a general concept altogether, and you have to think about your wider knowledge base. So again, this is preparing you for the outside world. Again, making sure to include real world application. What is happening in the infrastructure where we are? What are the roads like? What's going on in the environment around us? What's going on in the climate around us? What is the relevance out there to STEM concepts? What can we do with our STEM understanding and our engineering backgrounds to help tackle our local issues that are going on, whatever is going on in the world out there? There are so many things in the environment. There is the land, there is the ocean, there are the animals, there are plants, there's the air that we breathe. Everything is impacted. The infrastructure, what are the roads like? What is the communication like between folks? How can that help from an overall global business perspective? How can that help in an entrepreneurial way as well? So there's so many concepts that could be tied in and brought in when you think of interdisciplinary. It's not just one subject versus another, it's the wider application of those subjects too. What can be done in the world around us? How can we maybe even approach another company? How can we work with them? Is there a particular company that's looking after the railway system, the roads, whatever it is? How can we, as students, how can we, as an engineering institute, collaborate with others out there? So collaborating with other departments to teach subjects that overlap, as an example, but also think about wider concepts as well. What can you do with these subjects on a wider level that takes you outside of the classroom into an external thinking perspective? All very important to note when we think of in the global education space. So when we think of incorporating these local contexts of what we're talking about, you have to think about adapting your STEM lessons, whether you are learning as the recipient of all of the education and the learning concepts, or you're the one actually putting the curriculum together. So how do you actually include these regional examples? They could be examples of agriculture, biodiversity, natural resources. things that you may not think are even linked to engineering. They are not even linked directly to STEM concepts, but actually, holistically, they are. When you tackle things in different areas, you do have to think of formulae. You have to think of logical approaches. You have to think of programming. You have to think of all sorts of different structural concepts that you are learning the basics in now in your STEM education that are absolutely 100% relevant for the wide world out there. So adapting these STEM lessons and then linking these concepts to local issues can really, really make a difference. At the start of the session, I mentioned my heritage is from Assam, the northeast of India, for example. So tea production is something that would be local over there as an example, and handloom technologies. But think about what is local to you. What is local to what Stanley College, what Stanley Engineering University, what can you guys do? What is something that is local to something that keeps you up at night or something that you are passionate about that you think you can use your education to later on? So thinking about not just adapting these STEM lessons, but linking these STEM concepts to these local issues as well, and then partnering. What can you do with your local communities and industries to offer, if you are the student, to offer what you can do, what talent you have, what passion you have as a student to real life applications. But if you're a faculty member, if you are the lecturer in charge of the classes, what can you do to partner with external institutions to offer your students opportunities to collaborate on these real life projects and scenarios? These are all things that ultimately can benefit your local community. They can create a sense of impact and responsibility as well. So all things that are really, really important to know, that it's not just about thinking of what you can do immediately in your own circle, in your small groups. What can you do to partner with different organizations out there that can ideally and ultimately benefit your local community? One thing that I see a lot in my students, whether undergraduate students or even my postgraduate students, is that there is a big passion. When I ask my students, when I talk to my students, everybody wants to create an impact in the world. Everybody nowadays wants to think, what can I do to make a change in the world around me? What can my footprint be? What can I do so that one day I can be remembered for doing something, what I created, my own impact in the world? So in a way, it doesn't even matter what subject you are studying, what you are learning right now. It's all about thinking how you can apply that. What is your passion later on? So linking your academic credentials to any programming credentials and everything else, but with the passion that can drive you to think, what change can I make outside in the world around me? So partnering with local communities can really help with that, as an example. And going one step further, if you have groups, for example, when you work in groups for projects, you can even think about joining community-based fairs, science fairs, workshops, exhibitions. This is something that potentially your faculty can help you with later on. There may be career fairs out there. There could be community fairs. Can you take part? If you are the student, what can you do? Can you write a pitch? Can you write a script that will go hand in hand with what you are doing in your STEM education, in your STEM project, in your case study, that can help you connect with the external world in different ways? So again, very, very different concepts out there, different ways of acknowledging how can you bring everything together to ultimately help you and tie everything together in that global world that we're talking about. So when we think now of going out into the world around us, we've talked about the importance of getting together in group education, having inquiry-based learning, so where you can really ask questions and receive responses, and it's back and forth. So it's not just the lecturer and the students, it's two-way learning there. Then we talked about how can we make that into the classroom setting so it's exciting, it's not just rote-based learning. Case studies, groups, looking at issues in the world that you can fix directly. And then going into the community, using interdisciplinary approaches, mixing and merging what you have learned, maybe in different topics, bringing it all together, work in your groups, work with the community. What is your impact you can make in the world? Now, taking that one step further, when you think about the global world that we're in, what could we do to really impact the world we're living? How can we, from where you are right now, have a conversation with someone in the US, where I am based, somewhere in the UK, or somewhere in France, or in another part of India, or in China, in Russia, wherever it is? How can you just easily bond and share your ideas? This is something that takes collaboration and that community-based approach from now onwards. So let's now look at the 21st century skills, the approaches of how can we communicate better, how can we organize ourselves better, how can we structure ourselves to really look at, bearing in mind gender equity and cultural awareness, topics that are really, really important, especially as you guys know, your students yourselves. These are topics that matter. They're in the world around us. So best way to tackle them is by actually acknowledging them ourselves. So let's look at this ourselves. Now, when we think of 21st century skills, what do we actually mean by that? So it's a broad term, quite widely used nowadays. I'm sure you've actually been to different presentations actually that have had 21st century written somewhere in the title or the heading. But what do we mean by that? It's actually something that ties us in a global context, so we're all on the same bandwidth. One lesson that I certainly saw, not just with my students that I was teaching, but also personally as well, is that during the coronavirus pandemic, that put the whole world on a hold, that made us all overnight go to remote, made conclaves like today possible, like this whole conclave, this weekly conclave that we're all part of, made this possible. Because once upon a time, there was only the expectation that you have to be in the classroom, in the room, to impart knowledge or to share knowledge. That all changed all overnight, where we all turned to platforms like we're using today. Platforms that let us meet each other, no matter where in the world we're in, we can all interact as though we are actually in the same room. So those are all big things that made a big difference, and things that add actually to what we mean by 21st century skills. So 21st century skills is all about coming together as a community, increasing that multicultural understanding and awareness, but also focusing on concepts like critical thinking, communication skills, collaborating with one another, and thinking creatively. When you're thinking across borders, you have to think creatively. What may work for you, what may work in your local community may be completely different when you cross an ocean, when you go to another country, when you go to another state, in fact, right? So you have to think of things like that. And the collaboration, if you practice that in your small groups already, you're used to collaborating. Collaborating is about working together, sharing information, sharing the knowledge. And communication, right? There's written communication, there's verbal communication. There is so many different types of digital communication out there. Listening, enacting, graphics, coding, that's all communication. There's all different types of languages that you're communicating to one another through. So focus on that and focus on the critical thinking aspect of that. Remember, when we first started today's session, we weren't just talking about having just a right or wrong, black and white answer. Real life isn't just binary, right? You have to think about sometimes there isn't one answer, or there's sometimes more than one answer to a certain problem. Let me give you an example, a personal example of mine. So earlier last year in 2024, around April time, there was the solar eclipse that was taking part in the States, in America. And we happened to be in a place where you could view the solar eclipse. I have two children. My son, he was at the time 10 years old. Okay, so his school, before the solar eclipse came, meaning where the sun and moon, the moon actually comes and the sun comes, and what the moon actually crosses over the sun for that brief period of time. So it's a very twilight atmosphere that is set up during the day, but it makes it look like it's in the evening time. So it's a very special and unique opportunity. So to build up for this period of time, my son's teachers at school put a project together, and they were doing a space project just to kind of get them interested in the topic ahead of the topic. And one of the questions they had for their homework was, who won the space war. Okay, so who won the space war? So my son, they were allowed to use devices, they were allowed to use computers. He Googled it, and he was about to write the name Neil Armstrong, because that name came up, the first man on the moon in 1969 from the USA. Before he wrote the answer down, I said, just give me 1 second. Don't use your laptop, come to my laptop. Now, I travel around the world, so I use a virtual professional network, a VPN. So I'm very used to changing my location where I am. So I cleared my browser, my cookies, my cache and everything. And I just picked a random location. I picked somewhere in Eastern Europe. And when I picked somewhere in Eastern Europe, I typed in the same question, who won the space war? And then all of a sudden, Yuri Gagarin's name came up. There was no mention of Neil Armstrong. He was the first person to go to space, almost a decade earlier than Neil Armstrong. So things like that can make a really big difference. And then I changed my VPN again. This time we picked somewhere in China. And then a different astronaut came up, but this time the first astronaut to go to the dark side of the moon. It was China that did that first. So the point I'm trying to make is that learning isn't always what you see and what you read or what you're told. Explore it. Sometimes there are different responses. So now my son wrote down as his response, instead of the one name, he put, it depends. And then he wrote down different responses because of that. That is critical thinking. That is communicating, and that is stretching your imagination to look further. And that is what the beauty of what you as students are all able to do. Think further, look further, think critically, question, engage in a way. You have access to so many resources. One benefit that came out of the pandemic was that everybody has access to the same technologies around the world. People have access to Netflix. People have access to Apple TV, to Z-Cine Awards, to different sort of channels out there and different musics. But a lot of people have the very similar access, same browsers, different things. So question it, use it, but don't just take on face value what you are told. Question it. Use it as a discussion forum in your classrooms, in your groups, because that is the focus on critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity that can make a really, really big difference. As students, use that knowledge to work in teams as groups. Think about solving complex problems. Don't think of them as being complex, like, oh, I can't do this. Think of them as, okay, here's a problem, seemingly unsolvable problem, but what can we do first to break that down into small steps and then treat each step as an independent problem? How can we do that to communicate our ideas more effectively? If you are a faculty member, you teach your students how to work in these teams. Use these examples. Use your classrooms as examples to be able to do things like that. Include activities that nurture these skills. Group projects, role-playing, case studies, involve presentations, involve debates. Like I just discussed about the space project, that was a debate in a way, where you can also go back and forth. Which country is correct? Which response is correct? Well, maybe all of them are or none of them are. That's an interesting one. So absolutely, that is what critical thinking is about and what is important for future lives and for that global way of thinking. It brings in multiculturalism. Why? Because now you're thinking of different concepts. You're thinking of the way things are done in different countries across different borders as well. So it can really, really make a big difference in how you access things and acknowledge things as well. So when we think of gender equality and gender equity in STEM, what do we mean by that? So as students, as female students in particular, you know the stats better than anyone, but there are lots of students like yourself, you are very talented in STEM subjects, you're going to make the best engineers out there, you graduate with really, really high degrees and very high honors and marks and everything, and everything goes really well in the job market initially, and then something happens later on. Different life-changing moments come in your lives, and that something switches. That all of a sudden, it's some of the women, some of the females that start to drop out of the engineering, the STEM type of future activities. So it could be things like getting married. It could be things like starting a family. All of the above, or it could be none of the above. It could be something completely different. But that is what the research shows, that generally, after a while, it's the female students that drop down. So in order to counteract that, as students right now, when it's needed, be empowered to think, what's my impact to change the world? Don't think I cannot do something because of my gender or anything. Think I can do something because I'm so talented in what I'm doing. I know my stuff. I'm a team player. I can do it. Have that mindset of I can do it. Always, what can I do? Not what, oh, that's a hard one. I can't do that. Forget that. What can you do? How can you problem solve? Always think positively like that, because it can make a really, really big difference. Highlight contributions of yourselves as women and as faculty members. Highlight your female students. Highlight everybody in your classes to inspire the students. So when you are given examples in the class from different engineering concepts, different STEM concepts, go out there and make that extra step to really showcase the female role models that are out there. Absolutely, there should be all role models out there shared, but go out there to specifically also showcase the female role models, because there have been some hardships that they've had to encounter that nobody else has had to do. And it's motivating, it's inspirational, and it should be known. When people talk about history, when people talk about role models, they should absolutely be talking about the female role models as much as the men, not just one or the other. When you think of, oh, name a scientist in this, name a researcher in that, there should be a female name as much as a man that comes to the top of your tongue straight away. If there isn't, go look one up, because there absolutely should be. So active encouragement, highlighting these contributions, and also implementing mentorship programs. Now, you may already have this anyway at in your institution, because mentoring is something that is really welcome from a broad perspective all around. But if not already, or if you want to sort of expand how you're doing it, implement programs to support long-term student engagement, especially for the girls in the classroom. So by mentorship, there's peer-to-peer mentoring. There could be somebody, a student, who is a year advanced from you. That could be a mentor to you, because mentorship isn't just somebody that's in the workforce or somebody much older than you. It's somebody there as a guide. It's peer-to-peer mentoring. You can mentor each other, even students working across different modules or working across in your groups. That is also a form of mentoring. Then the other mentoring is where you have somebody who has maybe a recent alumni, has graduated, and they take on time to voluntarily mentor you, to give you advice. Maybe that alumni has started a job somewhere that you want to join, or somewhere you're very interested to find out more about. That is also an example. And then there's reverse mentoring as well, which I love the sound of, because it's where a younger person, somebody with less experience, actually mentors somebody with more experience. Why do we do that? Because in this 21st century, leadership isn't just about top down. Leadership is holistic. It comes from bottom up as well as top down. As a leader, you have to 100% know what is going on the grassroots. You have to know what is going on with your college members, your student members, your employees. And you can only know that by having active conversations, letting somebody guide you and your thoughts. So that is always another part of mentoring that is also very important as well. So that is a good way of encouraging this joint participation. When we look at gender equality, we also have to look at now the cultural sensitivity and multiculturalism as well. So in STEM education, as we know, as you know, living in India as well, it's not just gender, it's not just culturally one state versus another state. It could absolutely be folks coming from a different demographic, different socioeconomic background, being born into a family background. That is a very prevalent part still in some parts of India. And so it's important to also acknowledge all of that. So respect, understand, incorporate examples when you do your case studies. When you think of your community projects, really think about, does this cross the span of everybody in our society? When you look at your society, don't just open one lens and just open the door and just look ahead. Who's in your society? What are the different fragments that there are? How can you build and bring people together, right? What are the local traditions? Might be completely different in one demographic, or somebody from one socioeconomic background to somebody from a different background. What can you do to that? How can you incorporate these cultural values in your teaching, in your learning as students, when you think about scientific concepts? If you have a concept or something, does it affect everybody in society equally? So be aware of these, and also any linguistic variations and challenges that might have. You know, quite a lot of you may speak multiple languages. You also may be fluent in 2 languages or more, maybe bilingual. So think of not just using one, but going from one to another and changing, switching, even dialects if you want, going from Hindi to English to even a local dialect if you want to. These are different tools that can be used, right? You can have different students speak in their local dialect and then translate it or speak back, because that can really bring back a different perspective of feeling and encouragement used in the learning as well. So those are all examples there. And also foster inclusivity. All of what we're talking about today is about how do we bring communities together? How can we bring students together? How can we bring faculty together to work together across disciplines as well? So that's all what we're talking about, is inclusivity. How can everybody feel included? If you feel included, you feel happy. If you feel happy, you feel confident. If you feel confident, you can communicate better. You can explore better. So it's all something that works around in a cyclical environment for everybody. Right. So fostering this level of inclusivity, making sure everybody's voice is heard, is really important. The other part of this is not just looking at culturalism. It could be your personality type. You may have somebody in the class that is naturally more extroverted. Somebody's a bit naturally more bold, that's the first one to put the hand up, the first one to answer a question. And in the flip side, you might have somebody that is more introverted, somebody that you may call, another word is shy, somebody who doesn't like to be the first, somebody that goes to a party that isn't the first one to say hello, that just waits a little bit until they warm up a little bit, right? Sometimes you have personalities that are a bit of both, that depending on the time of day, the time of the month, however you're feeling at that moment, you may feel less or more confident. So bear that in mind as you go around your concepts. If you're in a group, for example, make sure everybody has a voice. Ask people, what do you think if you've noticed someone hasn't really shared their views? Right. As a faculty member, make sure you're looking around the classroom who hasn't spoken, who may prefer a different way of communicating. Rather than just asking questions, ask them to get up and describe something differently. You have to be able to mold your traditional ways of doing things to become more inclusive in this 21st century world. So these are all examples that can be used and ideally should be used in the classroom level for students as well as faculty members. So we've looked at a nice snapshot of now the 21st century skills, what can be incorporated into the classroom, how it can be incorporated, why it should be incorporated, and the benefits of doing so. Now let's look at what can you go above and beyond that? How can you make sure that after, as learners, as students, that's one thing, you're constantly getting ready to prepare for exams, test taking. How do you do that? But also as faculty member, how can you make sure that you are continually assessing yourself, that you are also continually learning and developing as a faculty member? Because learning does never stop. One thing about education, one thing about learning, it's constant. You're constantly being educated. You're constantly learning from the environment around you. You put the television on, something comes up. All of a sudden, you have a new data point. You have a new way of doing something. You look at something else. There could be a new scientific model or way of doing things in South Korea that has just been developed by this robot lab. All of a sudden, you have a new data point, something to explore. So it's continually moving, and it's really important in order to be relevant and stay with the times to be able to keep that in mind as well. So in order to do that, if you're a faculty member, you want to make sure that you are being offered regular opportunities to keep training and have workshops yourselves to stay updated on the latest and greatest in the world of STEM that is out there, because things are always changing. Oh, what might be relevant in this academic year, in the 25-26 academic year, it could be extinct, it could be outdated in 6 months. Things move quickly, especially in artificial intelligence, in technology. Things are continually moving. So you have to be on top of it all. As a student, similarly, are you looking at the latest and greatest? Are you using the technologies out there? How are you using AI? Are you using it to help your learning, right? So instead of hindering your learning, how are you using it to help? Are you using it to look at different sources of information, for example? How do different countries, how do different regions do things? What can you do to explore that further? So using that is really important. So continually doing regular training opportunities via workshops or any kind of educational techniques, but also how do you collaborate with STEM professionals? What can you do to collaborate across culture? So we talked about case studies, we talked about community projects, but how can you take that one step further, right? How can you do that even more so that your collaboration is on a more of a futuristic basis? So it's not just students collaborating on projects, but also faculty members are collaborating. What can you do to keep going? What is relevant to industry? How can that be done, right? So these are all examples of how you can, again, bring people together to continually assess yourselves, find out what's relevant, and keep challenging your minds to keep learning. Encourage peer learning, sharing of teaching best practices among faculty members. You know, you could have staff meetings. What worked in your class? What didn't? What are you doing to encourage quieter members of your class to speak up, right? Similarly, as students, you may find that, you know, if you're presenting as a group, another group does an amazing job, another group is a little bit hesitant. What can you learn from those? What can you change in your own presentation style and skills to do things differently, right? So these are all ways of learning, holistic ways of learning that can really, really make a huge difference and a big difference to society and everyone around you. So when you're looking at this, it's important to also know how do you evaluate and assess yourself as well. So this is more relevant, I guess, to faculty member as well, because as students, you are given your test. You are told, yes, do this and do that. So from your perspective, continually evaluating and changing, you're shifting your mindsets to different ways of learning, mock papers, mock testing, mock exams to keep that going. As faculty members, think about how can you assess yourselves group-wise? How can you shift from that traditional testing of sporadic ticking off boxes and multiple choice only to project-based learning, assessments and portfolio work that can actually have more of a holistic approach? What can be incorporated in formative assessments, quizzes, peer assessments, self-evaluations to track learning progress? Innovative rubrics, evaluating critical thinking, creativity, problem solving rather than rote memorization. What can be done to help facilitate all of these future techniques and technologies? So on that, I want to thank you all for listening to this presentation. I would like to open up to any Q&A if we have time for any. So can I just check with our moderator, do we have time for Q&A? If so, I would love to open to any questions that we might have from anybody. Perfect, perfect. So yeah, I would love to find out from anyone who's, so who do we have today, Ishraf, on the call? Do we have some students today? Do we have some faculty members? Do we have a mixture? Great. Perfect. Sounds great. Thank you so much. what inspired me to start UMA? Well, thank you for asking. So I have quite a whirlwind career, I should say. So my own background is that I actually came from a medical background. I went to medical school first. My parents wanted me to become a doctor. They are now retired, but they came from the medical profession themselves. So when I was at school in the UK, rote memorization was the way of education. That's just how it was. And the better you could memorize, the better you would do an exam. Now my memory isn't very good. I'm definitely older, but when I was young, I had a very good memory. So I would always score very well on all my exams, and I would ace my exams, and I went to medical school. And I even got through medical school, got distinctions, was on the honors list and everything, because I was very good at memorizing. However, something didn't quite feel right. It didn't feel like the subject for me, right? I've always been a curious person. I've always been a person to like question things, and you couldn't do that in a subject like medicine, especially when you started off as a young student. So I completed my medical studies, but before I actually saw officially my first patient, I switched. I then switched and I went to King's College London. So I switched from St. Bartholomew's and the Royal London School of Medicine and Dentistry, and I went to King's, and I went and I did mathematics and business management. And I knew nothing about business management. I always loved mathematics, maths, chemistry, physics were always my favorite subjects, but I knew nothing about business studies, but I was always curious. I was always intrigued by these finance television shows that came very early in the morning, had all these colors and numbers and datas, and I had no idea what they were talking about, but I was very curious. It was that curiosity that led me to go through something completely different, reliving a different university experience for me. And my whole outlook had changed at this point. So my outlook wasn't from learning to please others. Now it's learning to fulfill my own desire, my own curiosity. So that's really a founding moment in my life, because that drove me to the next portal in my life. So I went on from that, went into investment banking, because that was a natural career progression from studying finance and mathematics. And I did that for about 10 years. I was based out of London office for the investment bank I was at, but I would travel to New York sometimes, to Germany at times as well. I went to Japan once as well, to Tokyo, but I was predominantly based in the UK. Around 10 years later, I had somebody who was at King's College London, a family friend actually approached me and said, Rita, you know what, you have a business background, you have a medical background, you have all sorts of different things going on. Could you help set up a clinical trials and drug development institute in the States? So I was like, sure, why not? I've never worked with a small business before. This is definitely a brand new challenge for me. And that's what got my feet wet in business development, which meant I got to travel around the world. Now, I've always loved to travel. So this was a blessing in disguise, because I got to travel everywhere. And those travels is what brought me to New York, which is where I am now. I got married, I settled down, I have 2 children now. But when my kids were very young, I took some time off to raise them, about 3.5, 4 years, just exclusively to bring them up in their young days. And then I saw myself that the challenges, especially being female, the challenges of getting back into the paid salaried workforce. There was now all of a sudden a connotation that because I had chosen to leave, I can't be career oriented. Because I chose to look after my children, my family, how can I be a career driven person? So I thought that couldn't be further from the truth. I now had met so many other young new mothers that also came from professional backgrounds. There were lawyers, there were accountants, there were from the medical profession, there were, engineers, all sorts of different backgrounds. And that's what drove me to start UMA, a leadership development platform specifically to help women and minorities and youth in getting to that next stage of leadership, getting confident, getting those communication skills. So that's really what started. UMA is now 9 years old, started in 2016. So 9 years old now. And I actually love doing what I do with UMA. There is also a philanthropic venture, UMA Global, which is really an offshoot of UMA that was born out of the pandemic. and that is specifically to do with education leadership development. And we're working currently with Northeast India, so we're working with Assam and the Seven Sister States right now currently, and we are partnering them with academic institutions in the US, in the UK, in Germany, to create different mentoring platforms as well. So that's a little snapshot on my journey. I hope that answered your question for you. Thank you for asking.
Unmuted.
Oh yes, the name Uma. So in Hinduism, we have Ma Uma, the goddess Uma, right? Goddess Uma she's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sibling, she's a wife. So she really depicts all of the things that all of us in our lives have at some point. You know, she's full of curiosity, she's full of confidence and full of determination. She is that goddess of go-getting. And that's why I wrote the book, Goddess of Go-Getting, because it's based upon the concept of Uma. So she's really a role model for all of us. She lives inside all of us. It's a short and sweet name. It has so much meaning, but it's so easy to remember. And that's why I called the company Uma.
You are now unmuted.
Yes. Yeah, so great question.
You are now muted.
Companies or with organizations like the UN, it's not always a straight path. You can't just go and work with the UN. Usually what, a good way to start, especially as students, if you're curious and interested, is things like there are model UNs, there is UN societies. There's a way to voluntarily do things to do with the sustainable development goals, to do with changing society, to do with creating impact in the world around you. And those are usually done through UN initiatives. So you can look on Instagram, you can Google it. There are so many organizations all over India. So there's UN Women, there's different UNs, and there's subshoots of those that can help with that. And I would say look always to volunteer with these clubs and societies. And that's how it starts. Have a look at those, see what you can do, what impact you can make. Volunteer at some point once you're more confident to say, well, could I present some of the slides at the next meeting? Or could I do this? So you can then slowly start to volunteer to take more of a leadership role. Could I write the minutes? Could I write this? And that's how you can get involved. There are lots of civil societies that are linked with the UN. UMA Global, we're one of them as well. And it takes time to get involved with them, but they're all linked to the Sustainable Development Goals. It's all about impact. It's all about giving back. So my suggestion is do some research, look at what's out there. It might even be, a UN snapshot with model UN Moon, some people call them, even through Stanley. You'd have to look into it. So see what's out there and see how you can get involved.
You are now unmuted.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And it's actually a challenge that a lot of people have. It's also a mix of generations, because as faculty, you have a mixture of some online, but you have a lot of textbook learning. The newer generation, yes, there is a little bit of textbook learning, but it's a lot of online, different modalities, AI being one of them nowadays. I would say embrace it. So what you can do is discuss with your students and say, on this particular topic, can you share a couple of learning sites you went to write this or to look at this? If there's something on YouTube, look at YouTube, see what's on there, what video was used, right? If there was something, a resource that was used from, ChatGPT or what's the local one in India, DeepSeek, right? Have a look, see what these different sources are of options that use. Try to embrace it rather than run away from it. The reason I mentioned try to form small groups in your classes is because that helps you too as faculty. You can really get in and discuss. There is nothing stopping you as a faculty member from being part of that discussion, being part of the group. So the group work, that tutorial work, is a really, really good way to try and explore that further, because it really breaks down into skills rather than just knowledge that you can acquire, if that makes sense. So by involving more project-based work, case studies, presentations that the group have to do together, forces everyone to come together as students. So it encourages you as faculty to get more involved as well. So absolutely embrace it, see what's out there, the resources, watch them yourself, have a discussion to say, you know what, I don't even follow what they're saying, it's said in a different way, have a chat about it. Because even students, quite often I hear from students that they have a disconnect with their own family members because of a generational gap. You are the go-between as faculty members. So by starting to be that building bridge, you can help address and understand and create those connections, even with their own family members. So I would say embrace that journey. It doesn't happen overnight. It is trial and error, but just experiment a little bit in your classes. Incorporate different ways of learning. You have fun with it.
You are now unmuted.
Gosh, to my younger self,
You are now muted.
wow, so many things, honestly, as a mature adult, as a parent myself. But I would say the first thing is when I went through my medical studies journey, at that time, I went through the whole of medical school before I had the courage to speak to my parents to say, you know what, I don't enjoy this. So because I took it very seriously, I didn't want to let them down. I didn't know how to talk to them. So that's part of my journey of why I do what I do now, why I teach confidence, why I focus on communication, because I didn't have those skills myself. It was very just rote-based and mechanical learning. So what I would tell my younger self now is just enjoy life a bit more. Don't take it too seriously. It's okay to change your mind or do something different, right? So I think that would be the thing. As students for yourselves, take that leap. If you find something different that you're interested in, experiment with it. Enjoy it, but give it a go. One thing I hear from students is they want to jump around. Oh, that I didn't like that lecture. That's boring. I'm going to change my mind again. If you want to try something, you have to try it. By trying it, it doesn't mean just experimenting just one off. You have to give it a go. You have to think, okay, I'm going to just do one semester of that, or I'm going to try that for a couple of months, and I want to give it a full go. So I would say give it a go. But if you don't take that leap of faith, no one is going to take it for you.
You are now unmuted.
Yes, thank you for answering the question. Thank you for the session and also for sharing your personal journey and answering our questions. Thank you once again, ma'am. We hope that we can have further collaborations and further sessions with you in future. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the amazing questions. It was really enjoyable from my side. And absolutely, let's collaborate again in the future. I love that. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of the sessions. Bye-bye.
You are now unmuted.
Great day ahead, ma'am. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
You are now muted. You are now unmuted.
So let us move on to our final session of the day. Designing the future of healthcare, challenges and innovations in implantable device technology with AI and VLSI. Our speaker today for the session is Dr. Manisha Guduri. She is currently a tenure track assistant professor at Lawrence Technological University, USA. She is the author or co-author of more than 80 research papers in reputed journals, book chapters, and international conferences. Her research interests span artificial intelligence, biomedical applications, and VLSI or CAD design, with a special focus on applying AI and VLSI in the biomedical field. Dr. Guduri has published 5 patents, including 2 already granted, and has one ongoing funded project from the Department of Science and Technology. She is a senior member of IEEE USA and actively contributes to multiple IEEE societies, including Young Professionals, Women in Engineering, Circuits and Systems, Computer Society, and Sensor Council. In 2025, she is serving as the IEEE Lafayette Section Chair and is the member at large of the IEEE USA Awards and Recognition Committee. Her leadership exceeds further as she has been nominated as Associate Editor, DM role of IEEE JetCAS 2026 and has served as IEEE WIE CSS representative 2023 and 2024, WIE DL Program Coordinator, and IEEE Computer Society Lafayette Section Vice Chair 2024. She has delivered more than 35 invited talks and tutorials at international conferences and has organized 10 international conferences under various roles. We are truly honored to welcome her today and to share her insights on designing the future of healthcare through implantable device technology with AI and VLSI. Ma'am, over to you.
You are now muted. You are now unmuted. You are now muted. You are now unmuted. You are now muted. You are now. You are now unmuted.
Yes, can you hear me now? Okay.
You are now muted.
So, a warm good evening to everybody. It's a good morning to us.
You are now unmuted.
I'm Dr.
You are now
Manisha. My
muted.
introduction was given by
You are now
a
unmuted.
participant
You
or
are
a
now muted.
volunteer. So, I would like to talk on designing the future of healthcare, challenges and innovations in implantable device technology. So, a glimpse about me will be given, and we'll be discussing about future of healthcare, challenges and innovations, then future research. So this is my university. Just to introduce about myself, it's Lawrence Tech University. It's in Detroit, Michigan. So this is my office, and this is my previous university where I did my research. This is my lab where I worked on a couple of AI techniques. It's in University of Louisiana at Lafayette, and this is just a bird view of my university with snow covered with white thing. So coming to about me, I'm as she's told, I'm active IEEE volunteer, and I'm also very much active in participating in a couple of poster presentations. So I presented a couple of posters in naval applications for machine learning 2024 that happened in San Diego. I have also presented my research at IBM AI Compute Symposium at TJ Watson Research Center at New York. I've also participated as a speaker in Future Networks World Forum that happened in Maryland, Baltimore County. I have also been participated in AppsCom, which happened in India. So a couple of glimpses about myself. So let me come into the topic. When it comes to healthcare, it's a combination of co-design. That's what I wanted to discuss. So I worked on designing ultra-low power circuits while doing my PhD, and I started working on circuit level design during my PhD. Then device level design, device in the sense, circuits has got a couple of transistors when it comes to core part of VLSI. So device level design is basically working on transistors. Then while doing my postdoc here in University of Louisiana, I worked on system level design. So, and I have implemented a couple of deep learning techniques into the system. So let me come into active implantable device. That's a pacemaker, which I wanted to discuss today for this talk. So we all know that, heartbeat 72 times per minute, right? So when it's 72 times per minute, that's fine. But what happens if the heartbeat is less than 72 times per minute? Obviously, there will be problems. So why this? Here is the solution. So basically what happens is nowadays, because of the stress levels, because of the work stress or whatsoever the stress that we have, because of these stress levels, at the early ages, right in between 40s and 50s, many of us are having these cardiac problems, cardiac arrest or cardiovascular diseases and all. So basically what happens is heartbeat has to be at 72 times per minute, but because of this cardiac arrest and all, the heartbeat is many cases. I have done a research in my region here in Louisiana. Around 86% of people have got cardiac diseases because of the the stress levels. So that's been the research that's been done. I mean, the background work. So what's the solution? So the solution is, we have a pacemaker. Everybody knows that we have a pacemaker. But whatever the pacemaker that's been designed, it has got a longevity, right? So the life of your pacemaker basically depends on the circuits that you have in the pacemaker. So the life of pacemaker nowadays is theoretically it's 13 years, 13.5 years. That's the latest one. But practically, when you implant this pacemaker into a human heart, it depends on case to case. So what happens is, whatever the pacemaker that we implant onto a human heart, we'll have a couple of parameters that affect the life of pacemaker. Apart from that, the circuitry that's been built to design this pacemaker is implanted in your heart. So when this pacemaker is implanted in a heart, what happens is it paces up the heartbeat rate. So, paces up, it speeds up the rate of your heartbeat rate. So the circuitry part of the pacemaker is basically, we have three parts of it in the pacemaker. Basically, we'll have a circuitry part, we'll have a battery, and a kind of wires kind of thing. So when it comes to, let's emphasize on the circuitry part. So as I'm doing my research in VLSI, and I did my research in VLSI while doing my PhD, so I worked on circuits. So the simple technique that I have learned during my PhD is, when you try to reduce the power consumption of the circuitry, the longevity of a battery will be, the longevity of the pacemaker will be improved. How? Because, whenever we have this circuitry part, the circuitry part will have some couple of power consumptions. This power is basically, we have static power consumption and dynamic power consumption. We do also have short circuitry power consumption. So what happens is, whenever we have this power consumption, let us not talk about the power consumption of the circuitry part, but let us, take a simple example of your mobile phone. Let us suppose your mobile phone is charged to 100% of battery, and you don't use it for full day. Even though you don't use it, your battery is discharged, right? Am I right? I think yes. That's because of the static power consumption. So what do we assume? That background apps will be running, and because of that the power is being consumed. That's true. But apart from that, what happens is, even though your device is in standby mode, there is sort of power that's been consumed. But as the circuits in variable devices, whatsoever the pacemakers that we have, are designed at a very low voltages. So what happens is, the driving current will be the static current, the leakage current in the circuits. So this driving current is static current. So the static current, the leakage current, or the static current, whatever it is, it's been drastically more in these kind of variable devices, or whatsoever we call as the mobile devices, smartphones and all. Smartphones, variable devices, the circuitry part, whatever the circuitry part that we'll have, will be almost at same voltage. We'll try to design circuits at the same supply voltage. So that's the reason I'm trying to just connect this pacemaker with the smartphone circuitry part. So, as I told, we need to reduce the power consumption. Why? Because we need to reduce the static power. Static power is the driving power in these kind of variable devices. So once we reduce the static power, what happens is, obviously, the battery's longevity will be improved, as I have given you a good example with your mobile phones. So even though if you don't use, you'll have couple of power consumption that's been consumed over the device. If you use, definitely the power has been consumed and the battery is discharged. So but now the focus of this research is basically, even though we don't use the device, the power consumption should be minimized. That's a static power consumption, that it should be minimized. So to do that, now let us again come back to the pacemaker circuit. So the pacemaker has got a motherboard, the electronics part. So let me take an highlighter. Yeah. So this is a electronics part that we have in a pacemaker, and this electronics part has got a motherboard. That motherboard architecture has got the block diagram of that is being shown over here. It has got many components like memory, telemetry coils, physiologic sensors, some couple of algorithms, programmable logic algorithms. We have A to D converters, D to A converters, amplifiers, sensing and filtering amplifiers. We have battery management system. We have voltage and current reference generators, monitoring and measuring system, and ADC, analog to digital converters. We have multipliers. Then we have pulse generators. So these are basically used as a components in the circuitry part of a cardiac pacemaker, and this work has been published in IEEE NewCAS in United Kingdom in 2023. So in this work, what we did is, we try to take up a simple inverter circuit, and this inverter circuit we have done, we try to found what should be the optimum supply voltage at which my circuit should work. I need to choose a supply voltage, right? Obviously, it should be below the threshold voltage, because, as I told, we were considering mainly on the leakage current. So when it comes to leakage current, it should be below the threshold voltage. But if you know the concept, or if you know the physics of it, conduction, right? The term that is called as conduction. What is threshold voltage? So basically, threshold voltage is a voltage at which the current conduction starts taking place, right? So, but I'm talking about giving a supply voltage below the threshold voltage. So when it comes to this kind of what do you call the graph, as below the threshold voltage, the current is zero. When the current is zero, obviously the supply voltage is zero. That's a physics, but theoretically this is a physics. Practically, when we look into this, even though the supply voltage is less than the threshold voltage, even though at these voltages we have a leakage current that's been passing over the circuits. So that's leakage current, and because of these leakage current, we have a static power consumption. So technically speaking, what happens is, let us again, at the starting of this talk, I just discussed about, mobile phones battery discharge, right? Even though you don't use it, but your battery will be discharged. So that's the reason. The reason is not background apps. The reason is even the because of the leakage current. Why do we have this leakage current? Even before the threshold voltage, we have leakage current that's been passing through the circuitry part, and because of this leakage current, that is mainly, that is predominantly gradually or predominantly it's been more in this kind of variable devices. So at the voltage at which below the threshold voltage, your current is also, as I told that, the leakage current is acting as a driving current. Now I should find out at what supply voltage my circuit is working. First thing, the very important thing I should understand is, threshold voltage, for example, whatever we have learned in our books, threshold voltage is 0.7 volts, right? But according to the technologies that have been, coming day by day, for example, 16 nanometer technology node has got a threshold voltage of 0.4
You are now
volts,
unmuted.
right? So yes, I'm just a second.
You are now muted.
Can you see my slide number?
You are now unmuted.
I mean, I have a circuit. Could you see this? Yes. Okay.
You are now muted.
Okay. Yeah. So now, I mean, could you see this slide? The architecture of my cardiac pacemaker.
You are now unmuted.
I'm just a second. Correct. Yes. Could
You are
you
now
see
muted.
this slide?
You are now unmuted.
I mean, as a heart. What's that? How do I need to move the slides? Could you see? Yep. Could you see the architecture now? Could you see my moving? Okay. Now, could you see slide moving? Slide 19. I think I'll try to, come instead of going to the slideshow mode, I'll put it like this and then I'll give the talk. Is that okay? Can you see? So could you see my slide number 20 now? Okay. So let's come back. Thank you for
You are now
the
muted.
clarification. So now if we see this slide here, so as I told, working on circuits below the threshold voltage, and leakage current would be the driving current to design the circuits. Now I should find out at what supply voltage my circuit should work. So that is called as optimum supply voltage. Now when I talk about supply voltage and when I talk about power consumption, there's another parameter that comes into picture, that is basically a propagation delay. That means, the latency or whatever we call it as delay, right? So there is a trade-off. There is always a trade-off between power and delay. Whenever we try to reduce the power in a circuit, the delay obviously will be trying to, maximize. So whenever I try to reduce the delay, the power will be more. So there is always a trade-off between, power and delay all the time. Now I should find a solution, right? I should have a compromise between my power and delay. So how do I need to have this compromise on power and delay? There's a term that's called as energy. Energy is a product of power and delay. You all know that, right? That's a basic physics. Now, I have to design a circuit such a way that the circuit consumes a minimum energy consumption. So that's my motto. Let's have power a bit high and delay a bit low, or whatever it is. There will be a compromise all time. So whenever I have this compromise, that means that my circuit has got a high performance. So that's how we design. So now, as we talk about minimum energy, we need to find out this minimum energy point in the circuit. So what we did in this experiment is we tried to take a simple inverter circuit. You all know inverter, right? A CMOS inverter will have a PMOS and NMOS. Both the inputs are connected together to get an output. So whenever you give an input as 1 to an inverter, you get an output as 0. That's basic inverter circuit. So that circuit I've chosen, and I try to put a supply voltage. I try to play game with the PMOS circuit and NMOS circuit. That's complementary CMOS circuits. I played a game with the transistor sizing in the CAD tools. So that's a good thing that we have playing game with the CAD tools. I did this research for around 1 year to find out this minimum energy point. So I have played a game with the width of PMOS transistor, length of PMOS transistor, width and length of NMOS and transistors. I mean, both the width and length have been played. Now, whenever I do this game, I have to think of, the short channel effects too, because I'm working on, basically it's been worked on 60 nanometer technology node. So 60 nanometer is a deep subthreshold region of operation where your supply voltage is very much less than your threshold voltage. Now, in this deep subthreshold region of operation, as it is deep subthreshold region of operation, short channel effects come into picture. So whenever I have the short channel effects that come into picture, I need to work on, at what length my transistor should be, at what width my transistor should be. As I told, I was working on device level. I mean, I to be frank, I played a lot of game on, transistor sizing. What should be the channel doping concentration? What should be the, at what temperature? If I put it, I'm gonna get a good thing. So everything was being played, and I got a result by, having this, keeping in mind about the short channel effects too. In short channel effects, we have VT roll-off. VT roll-off is, when the channel length is decreasing a lot. I mean, when we are going to the smaller size of our transistors, what happens is, there is instability in your threshold voltage, but that should not be the case. Whatever the channel length we put to our transistors, we should have a very stable threshold voltage. So that instability has been considered, and we have fixed channel length and channel width of our transistors at these which are being shown over here. If you see, I have my WP WN values are shown over here, and I have found transient response analysis was being carried out, and I found that the minimum supply voltage at which I have got this is at 0.15 volts. Now, how do I find this minimum supply voltage or minimum energy point, or it's an optimum supply voltage? What I call is, what I do is, we know energy. Again, this energy has got static energy and dynamic energy, as well as total energy is summation of static energy and dynamic energy. Now, I have put this static energy and dynamic energy in the graph. I varied the supply voltage, and I found the static energy, dynamic energy, and total energy. So the intersection of my static energy, dynamic energy, and the minimum energy and the total energy is my minimum energy point. That's how I found. But the graph here is shown only for the total energy. I didn't plot full dynamic energy and static energy in this, but we have done the analysis. Now, For this simple inverter circuit, I have got the minimum energy point at 0.15 volts. Whatever the supply voltage or optimized supply voltage that I have got, I have put it in a telemetry coil circuitry with an op amp. So I just found that this particular what do you call the circuit that we have, this is already an existing circuit, it's not a novel circuit, but I just implemented this supply voltage to the circuit. We all know it's an analog circuit with operational amplifier. Analog circuits working at very low voltages is a very challenging thing, but my functionality was been verified with this circuit, and I could say that at minimum voltage at minimum energy point, that's at 0.15 volts. You understand, try to understand, 0.15 volts is 150 millivolts. So such with a such less voltage my circuit is being functional. That's what that was being proved with this analysis. Apart from this, I have also implemented the same minimum energy point to the another circuit. That's a simple 1-bit full adder circuit. The circuit is been published in I think way back in 2017. So we have worked on these circuits basically, and we try to implement it. The layout of the circuitry part has been implemented, and we try to we were working on this kind of ultra low power circuits way back from 2017, and the results that we are expecting to be reduced power consumption and reduced drain current, die area, and minimum energy point, and ultimately we are working in deep subthreshold region of operation. So this is a VLSI part that is being covered. Now I'm moving to the next slide. Can you see the slide?
You are now unmuted.
Yes.
You are now muted.
So now this is a circuitry part that's been going on. I have given a very couple of examples. Not full circuitry part was being shown in this, but we are working on more circuitry part. Now let us come to the co-design. That's a hardware part, software part of this pacemaker. So now we all know that we have a pacemaker. So whatsoever the pacemakers that we have, there is a high chance of having malfunctioning of these pacemakers, right? So this malfunction may be because of some factors. So whatsoever the factors it is, but when we have malfunction, immediately a person or a patient who is having this pacemaker implanted in his heart has to undergo the surgery. So again, the surgery cost is going to be more. So what we did is we tried to tune the pacemaker with a machine learning model. So to tune a pacemaker with a machine learning model, we need some data, right? So whatsoever the real data that we have, it's to have this. One second, please work. Okay, so I'm sorry. So yeah, so the real data that is to be needed. So whatever the real data that we have, it's ECG signals, right? Obviously we work on ECG signals to work on the cardiac pacemaker. So the ECG signals, it's a very private data of a patient that cannot be given to the public data to work on kind of experiments for machine learning models. That's the reason what we do is we try to develop the data. Suppose I have a 500 ECG signals that's publicly available. So this publicly available data, 500 ECG signals giving to a machine learning model to tune will not get a good accuracy. So what we do is we try to synthesize the data and we try to create more data so that my machine learning model will have more data to work on finding the good accuracy, which can which is again good for tuning the cardiac pacemaker. So now if you see, we have just worked on, a second. So we have just worked on designing generative adversarial networks. So these generative adversarial networks, what we do is we try to synthesize the data. The real data has been synthesized. I mean, we are trying to create a fake data which is very much equal to the real data, and that data has been given to a machine learning model so that the tuning will have will achieve more accuracy. And again, ultimately, we need to find out the malfunctioning of cardiac pacemaker, and we need to avoid the surgery for a patient, so that how we can do that using a pacemaker, using a machine learning model. We can predict if the pacemaker that's been implanted in a device, in a heart, in a human's heart, in a patient's heart, can be detected with malfunctioning, and without undergoing any surgery, we can, what we do is we can try to avoid the surgeries. So how that is possible? That's been only possible with the kind of machine learning model that's been used to implement. So now, as I said, we are working on, can you see my slide change? Can you see the slide change?
You are now unmuted.
Okay, correct. Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
You are now muted.
So what we did is we just try to, tune this cardiac pacemaker with the generative adversarial networks with machine learning model. So that's been studied actually. So we worked on GAN, that is generative adversarial networks. And as I told, we have, a sample research that is being studied over here is being shown. So in the state of Louisiana, where I did my research, around 1.4 billion people were being attacked with cardiovascular devices. So that's the state statistics that's been shown. So now let us come to the technical part of generative adversarial networks. The parameters that are being used is this. Let's not very much focus on parameters, but let us see how these generative adversarial networks work. So this generative adversarial networks basically work with pre-processing and normalization of the input. Then we segment the signals. Then we try to generate the training data set, and we do that. So now if you see, can you see my slide? Generative adversarial networks
unmuted.
architecture. So
You are now muted.
if you see here, we have done a pre-processing using windowing technique. So this has been done at the stage 1. Then we have segregated the signals with a training set and the test set. And this training set is being given to a discriminator. And test signals are also given to a discriminator. So in this generator, basically we have two kinds of blocks, which are basically convolutional layers. So these are generator and discriminator. Generator generates the data, and the discriminator finds whether the data is real or fake. If it is fake, then it tries to, put it throw away. But it is real, then it tries to give it to the final output. So that is basically architecture of generative adversarial networks. In this generator and discriminator, we have many layers of convolution layers. So now the game again starts here in the generator and discriminator. In this generator and discriminator, we have a couple of convolution layers, encoders and decoders. So the way how we place these convolution layers is what all the game is in this generative adversarial networks. So we try to work on this kind of generative adversarial networks with ECG signals. So we have given already we have publicly available around 500 ECG signals that are available. Just a second. So these ECG signals, whatsoever we got, these ECG signals, before training, I just gave this to a generator. So this is could you see my graph, or could you see the graph, ECG signal graph? Before training. Unmuted. So in this, I just gave the input before the training and I got some output. It's not real. It's totally, there's no equality between the input that we have given and the output that we got. training. After training this generative neural networks, I just got this. So here again, I have taken, I by myself, I'm a meditation practitioner. So I took meditation set. So I took, in this experiment, what I did is I took pre-meditation, during meditation, and post-meditation of 25 human subjects. The ECG signals were being taken, and in this sets I try to give the the ECG signals with uh, b- this is a generated signal, and the generated signals, if you observe in these three sets, I have given a sample of three sets over here with three human subjects. So but I carried out the experiment for 25 human subjects. So I try to work and I try to found that basically the whatever you call the before training and after training. So after training my model, I got the results very perfect, and the generative loss, discriminated loss, and adversarial loss were being also found to find out how much is the fake data that's been created, which is thrown away. So if you can see the loss, that this loss, if it's almost equals to the loss is very much less. I mean, it's nearby one, right? It's around 0.7, 0.8. So this says that the loss is very less. That means the fake data that's been created by this model has got very less fake data, and the loss is also less. So with this, it is very much, I also have calculated couple of errors to find out how much accurate my model is. So I try to found these, and I have got good results. Now next thing what I worked is I try to implement couple of machine learning techniques to improve the performance. This paper is also published in 2023 in healthcare analytics. So in this work, what we did is we try to take the data set pre-processing. You all know that data pre-processing will be done. So here in this work, I have implemented the data with couple of machine learning algorithms. So whatever the machine learning algorithms that I have are implemented over here, like XGBoost, majority voting, ELA, also all machine learning algorithms. These, the output that I have obtained from these ML algorithms is being given to k-fold cross validation technique to improve the performance. So this is a technique that's been very much have given my performance evaluation as a very good thing. So I did all this for for cancer data sets, malignant and benign instances of data set. So I have given this k-fold technique over here, and I found that even though I get a good output for XGBoost, but my accuracy models are very much for majority voting. So with this, kind of experiment that we did, we understood that by using this 10k fold cross validation technique, the performance of machine learning models has been improved, and the analysis is shown over here. Precision, accuracy, and all were being found. Apart from this, we have also worked on e-healthcare techniques, I mean electronic health record, by using couple of blockchain using federated learning technique. We all know federated learning technique. So it's basically we are trying to localize the things, and we are trying to implement it. So we have used a couple of blockchain techniques with federated learning analysis to preserve the data privacy in the healthcare records. So that's been utmost importance nowadays. That means, whatsoever the health records that we have are to be accessed by the patient and the doctor. But nowadays, because of the things that are happening in the insecurity perspective, the data has been breached a lot, and the data has been mismatched. So these are the things that have been happening. So to avoid that, we have designed this kind of healthcare record, and we have implemented this with federated learning technique, and we got a good result. So these are the results that we have got, and we also have measured the kind of errors in the proposed and existing algorithms, and we got good results. So this is being done, and the paper is published in IEEE Transactions of Consumer Electronics. So the current research proposals that we are working on is design of cardiovascular devices. Then we worked on tuning cardiac pacemaker with machine learning algorithm. This has been submitted to NSF Smart Health Research. We have also submitted a
now
proposal to
unmuted.
Board
You are
of
now
Regents
muted.
here, and we are also working on machine
You are
learning
now unmuted.
algorithms, implementing machine learning algorithms in naval combats with generative adversarial networks. It's in collaboration with Naval Division of USA. The work has been going on, and we are also we just submitted. It's
You are now
submitting.
muted.
It says it's submitting. The slide is not updated, but we have submitted this proposal too, and I was involved as a major user. It's to NSF MRI. So this is a work that we have submitted to NSF. So we worked on implementing AI on smart grid. As I told, we are working on naval combats. So this is a poster that's been basically presented while I was doing my postdoctoral research in University of Louisiana at Lafayette. So the work basically synthesized the naval data, and we are already in collaboration on this work with Naval Division. So not very much results were being shown, but a very basic results were being shown because I'm not authorized to show all the results. I also have a couple of books that's been published.
You are now
So
unmuted.
the cover pages of the book are shown here. I work majorly on healthcare. Yes. So, yeah. Can you see it now? Yeah. So with
You are
this,
now
I would
muted.
like to end my session, and this is my email ID. I forgot to mention my LinkedIn profile, but you can find me in LinkedIn too. You can just type Manisha Guduri, you'll find my name. So this is about myself. Let me know if you have any questions.
You are now unmuted.
Am I fast or am I slow? There is
You
a
are
lot.
unmuted.
There is, I mean, you have vast demand on healthcare, especially with and generative techniques. Gen AI, agentic AI in healthcare is been a demand now. Even many healthcare industries are expecting artificial intelligence techniques. They want artificial intelligence techniques to predict many kind of things, many kind of devices. So there are many doctors here are collaborating with computer engineers to find out prediction kind of things. Even there are many insurance companies too who are working with computer engineers, health insurance companies. There are many health insurance companies who are trying to fund the computer engineers to work on prediction techniques.
You are now unmuted.
Could you repeat again? All right, good question. So
You are
what
now
you can do
muted.
is you can apply for internships. Internships are very much available overall. Even in US, you have lot many internships. Not only in US, you have worldwide. You have internships available from the healthcare industries, and it is in demand now. And I urge every student to try to focus on applying for internships. Apart from applying internships in not only the kind of well established industries, you can also always focus on startups. Even though you get less money, but you're gonna get good experience by having internships in startups.
You are now unmuted.
That's how you can get into contacting with
You are
healthcare
now
people,
muted.
and you can get good career opportunities too.
You are now unmuted.
AI is used a lot.
You are now muted. You
AI
are now
is
unmuted.
used a lot. It's needed.
You
The
are now
most
muted.
the most needed for the it's a need of hour. And in a decade, it's going to be huge too. That's
You
an
are now
era
unmuted.
now.
You are now muted. You are now unmuted. You are now muted.
So, as I told, AI is utmost needed nowadays. Even though I'm a circuit engineer, but I learned AI techniques to work on AI and I've published many research papers too. So I'm trying to collaborate. I'm trying to have a co-design kind of thing with AI and VLSI. Not only AI and VLSI for healthcare. You have AI everywhere that's been used. We have autonomous vehicles, right? So there also we are using AI, driverless cars. So AI techniques are used everywhere, and you all have good example with ChatGPT. So now we get every single solution with one stop. That's a one stop place ChatGPT, right? We use even though it's not correct, but we use it. That's how it is. So I really my vision for AI is huge. That doesn't mean that AI is replacing jobs. No, it's not correct. You should know how to use AI properly. So that's how it works.
You are now unmuted.
On AI, yeah, overall session that's pretty good.
You are now
I
muted.
really would like to thank Dr. Kishore. Is working a lot. Background work has been done by him. I really appreciate his efforts on putting different people from different parts of globe all together in one place, and it's going to be I'm sure it's going to be fun for the rest of sessions too, and I hope you enjoyed my session too. And
You are
I
now
also would like
unmuted.
to
You are
thank
now
the
muted.
organizing institution to give this opportunity.
You are now unmuted.
Thank you. Yes. I would like to encourage the students. You can
You are
take
now
my
muted.
email ID. I would like to encourage the students who would like to collaborate and work can, get to me anytime. You can email me on this. It's mgoduri@ltu.edu.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you once again, ma'am. And that's it. This concludes the day 9 of our Engineering Conclave 2025. We had sessions from Dr. Md Shakir Ali on entrepreneurship, Dr. Rita Kakati-Shah on education, STEM education, and Dr. Manisha Guduri on in challenges and innovations in future of healthcare. So we thank them for sharing their invaluable expertise and inspiring insights. And also thank you to the participants who joined us today. That concludes our day 9, and we look forward to see